Also, while we're waiting, if you're going to want to speak at 7:30, you then put in your cards, your speakers cards. It is 6:37, Tuesday, September 20th. We are now opening up for the workshop agenda for the historic town of Eatonville.
Real quick before we get started, to the board, I had an opportunity to talk to Mr. Cliff Shepherd. On Wednesday at 12 o'clock, I didn't have an opportunity to get my agenda item presented on the agenda. So I contacted the attorney. He told me it's more not a legal matter, but more procedural, that I'm asking this board if we could to amend the agenda to include the resolution of Mr. James Benison to find out how much we owe him in back pay. I think I made that announcement last council meeting. I didn't get it in this time just because of my schedule. I apologize for that. According to the attorney, this question is a matter of council procedures rather than legal requirements. The quick answer is that you can make a request at the beginning of the meeting that it would be upheld by the council to justify putting it on. So I'm asking Mayor if we can, for the decision making at the 7:30 meeting, if we can have the clerk, the attorney, and the finance officer to give them Mr. James Benison to find out how much they owe him in back pay, not to exceed. I think I said 2019 or 20,000. If that, it may be 5 or 6. I'm not sure, but we haven't done our due diligence to find out. So I wanted to present it in workshop before we get to the 7:30. That's okay with you, ma'am, asking for the board's
So since workshop is mainly discussion, you want it as a discussion item in workshop on the agenda?
No, ma'am. I want it as a decision item on 7:30. The attorney made it clear that I can ask this more
And I think you
procedure.
have the documentation.
It doesn't have to be paperwork. I may it can be an emotion, and we take care of the paperwork later. It doesn't have to have any paperwork. It's just a decision on having the finance director, the clerk, and the attorney find out the back pay of Mr. James Benson.
I got one question on this issue. This happened that when we looked at
We can make it as a discussion.
I'm asking the mayor to ask the council, is it okay that we make this a decision at 7:30?
If this is a 7:30 item, you might want to wait to bring it up to the 7:30 meeting, but there's nothing that stops the council from having it as a decision item, though there's other things that might stop you from making a decision now on payments when you don't know what that.
It doesn't have to be a payment, it could be a decision to go forward to find out what that cost
Right, we
is.
can just find out like what the number Mr. Benderson is claiming is, and then bring it back to the council and discuss that.
I understand that it hasn't been in movement, that's why I'm bringing it before the council now. I've asked before, and it hasn't been any movement, so I'm bringing it now before council so that staff can know, let's move on this, because I brought this up before, no one has moved before. And the attorney at that time was our old attorney that resigned. It was no movement, so the this is my only way to get this resolved.
But last year, we go administration. Why last year do this? Bring some to the
Wait,
administration.
let's stop. We're not-
Uh-oh.
If it's something you want to discuss, put it in your report or your discussion, because we are in a
Attorney.
workshop.
Attorney,
That's day to day, that's something you need. That's
trying to
administration.
trying to be respectful, so at 7:30, I can bring this up as well. And then have.
If you're asking for a
ask the mayor,
decision item, we can discuss having it as a decision item at seven
At
thirty.
7:30.
When you, either as part of your report, or you can ask for it. to
So
be
I
added
bring
to
the
the
motion, I
agenda.
can bring the motion from the floor, you're saying, in my report.
I'm sorry,
You're saying I can bring the motion from the floor in my report, and if that's the case.
as part of your discussion in the 7:30 meeting,
As far as my having that decision made at 7:30 meeting, you want me to make a motion in my report, I can do that as well.
you can do that,
All right, and then have it voted upon in the 7:30 meeting.
unless there's some town procedure that says you can't.
Thank you, so we can vote at 7:30, so thank you.
Yes.
All right, the workshop agenda is set. I don't see the gentleman for the presentation. So we'll have to reschedule the screen installation and advertising of information. I can just share it with you. One of the purposes of that presentation was in regards to putting the information out there in different ways. We have a monitor right here in the hallway, in the lobby. That instead of it just running the news, we can put information on there that the citizens would need to know. There's also a screen down at the restaurant, Miss Kim's, that information can also run there as well. This information that would be pertinent to the community, and that's what the presentation would be about. And since part of it would be an agreement, then it needed to go before the council. Ordinances, introduction of the pass-through, we're going to reschedule that. That's my understanding.
Yes, that's not ready, I'm not sure, I'm hoping to have it ready for the next council meeting, I'll let you know.
Okay.
Hopefully.
All right, thank you. Council discussion of the DJ's council meeting. We're doing the council meeting. Public Works, Councilwoman Randolph.
I have a couple of concerns on the public works. It's been ongoing issue that we need to bring to the attention of business. We have a problem each time there's a heavy rainstorm, the light here on Kennedy and Rockmore. I want to, is this English here today? I want to bring that on TV. Oh, okay. Yeah, we need to make sure that we stay on top of that main intersection, because I know last week there was a backup from here all the way down Kennedy, West Kennedy, East Kennedy, Boulevard, right, West Kennedy, right, for that light. We want to make sure that we have contact with Orange County to report. I don't know what makes that light goes out, maybe a mechanical problem.
Hi, Mayor Council. That light, I got Ms. Williams on it. We need to make sure that that light belongs to Orange County. And right now, they're the one that's servicing it. And they're the one that put the new computer board in it. I think there was a discussion that we were paying maintenance on it, which we shouldn't. Because the light belongs to Orange County. But yes, we're now checking that out, to see where it's at. But we are, I have been on them about fixing that light. Yeah, put more on it, and we're still working on it. Make sure that it doesn't go out every time. They have put the board.
Thank you.
Okay, and then the other issue is, someone had written a comment about, the smell of water. Mrs. Sullivan, Mrs. Dawkins, yeah, Mrs. Dawkins, that sent in a request to the council members about the problem, the issue with the water. So I want to make sure that that has been addressed. Has anyone got back with you, Ms. Dawkins?
I briefly spoke to Mr. English. I'm sorry.
So you come to, would you like to go to the lectern?
Yes, can you come to the podium, please, so we can all hear?
And Dawkins, 540 Boulevard, Mayor and Council. Yes, I did send an email in reference to the water, smelling like sulfur, and when there's a water main, sometimes we're contacted, sometimes we're not. So it's just a concern. My neighbors have also kind of complained about it. And that water is very important. There's a lot of seniors living by the area, so I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I spoke to Mr. English briefly about it.
What area is that?
It's in unincorporated Orange County.
One issue they have over there is a lot of septic tanks over there. So that's one issue that might need to be looked at. I do come to the city too, it's looked up. Might have an issue, so but I think that's the issue over there in that area. I thought that's what it was. All those houses over there. So you might have some leaking in your water. So you never know.
Right, and
No issue.
I'm in county.
Yeah, in the county, so that's something you have to work with the county. And extend to the county, you know.
Not right
services.
now. All right, thank you. And
Yeah, that's how we can fix that issue, yeah, I think.
Is there anyone else that you know of having the same or similar issues?
oh, my neighbors in Campus View area. Okay, so, and yes, we are.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And the reason that it's so important because there's been all over the country problems with water. Different things getting in the water, there's something else yesterday. So we all as citizens and residents really pay attention to our water, clean water. And make sure that we have a number that we can call to report that. It doesn't be something that we do for us to put something out to the residents. The ongoing problem is to be called. Okay, and then the other issue.
Councilwoman, can we stay with that for a second? And I was gonna talk about it more in 7:30, so, since we talk about public works and issues. I got phone calls from Calvin Park again, and I actually went down there, and I don't know if that water situation was handled. So on Catherine, on Campus View, I mean, it was, very bad. Amador, I mean, water was backing up almost to the back end of Amador. So how we address those issues, with public works?
English has reached out to a backdrop company to come out and assess that situation with the water backing up in Calvin Park. Two of his staff members did locate two of the areas where the water is supposed to drain that was buried up under grass, so they were able to dig that out and get a better assessment of how the water is supposed to flow. He did take pictures, so if he's here at 7:30, he can share that information.
Okay, so we can definitely talk about it at 7:30 because I also went down with a hurt arm and took pictures and seen all that. And some of the drains have dirt in it. So I literally got a stick and put a stick in there and it was stopped by the dirt. So that's a major thing. And then have we try to remember this because if not, I don't know if everybody remember what happened for Ola Vista. We're gonna have that same problem going on in historic town Eatonville with, breakfast issues now. And that lake, we need to address the issue with the lake in Calvin Park also. I'm pretty sure it's at the brim right now, so we need to contact how can we pump that water somewhere to reduce it down from causing bigger issues. But we can talk about that.
Yes,
I also have a concern, we're into hurricane season right now. I just want to know what is the preparedness of the public works department as far as being better equipped to handle situations dealing with our hurricanes, such as flooding, whether or not the trees, periodically they have been do energy around on contractors to trim the trees and the nails from the power lines. Have those things been done? Are those things in place?
What I could answer one of the questions for you, as far as preparedness of hurricanes and the trees. We have contacted 3 tree companies to come out and survey the town with the trees that we need to take down and have them stand by just in case we need to.
But while you're waiting, I can add to that. Also in regards to the trees, reaching out to an arborist to assess which trees need to really be taken down in the right of ways and which trees just need to be cut back. Because that will help the tree service know that information as well. And we can go ahead and price that out over time. If you know which ones need to be done immediately and which ones can take a little longer. So we can price it out.
And also the lift stations, want to make sure that they're properly performing, whether or not there's been an inspection. Plan to, just in case something goes down, what's our plan? You know, we've had problems before with the lift station, it's one whole year, Eatonville, last week it was New Orleans. So hopefully that problem has been resolved. We just trying to keep our streets nice and clean. It's very important.
Is there anything else? All right, Councilman MJ.
Simple, my discussion items have been, gotten a couple emails from residents and people dealing with the development coming up and everything. Where do we stand with this impact fee thing? I've been told that it's supposed to happen, it's happening, it's nothing still hasn't happened. Where do we stand with the impact fee study and the process?
I have a question. I have a question. We did try to put some on the books back then, but we kept talking about a tax. We kept, I mean, the man came to us and said, this will be different.
I'm not talking, council, I'm not talking about the fire service.
That's
I'm talking about impact fees.
That's the impact fee. That's the fee study. So, I mean, when we talk about that, what's going to be the difference? You spend an impact fee, it's not a tax.
So the impact fee, councilman, I'm talking about this when it comes down to development and new homes being built and all those things.
We have something in place, we have that in place.
Where do we have it in place?
The impact we don't have in place. And
So that's what I'm talking about.
Well, I can give you an update on conversation. There wasn't a conversation, actually, email, that I had sent concern to Attorney Shepherd last week about the same issue about the impact fees. He said that he doesn't actually really know, he'll check on what's the hold up for us. This really needs to be moved on, so he's going to check on it to make sure what's the hold up so we can be going with this.
And my whole reason behind this is all of the emails, text messages, and all that stuff coming up. I think residents need to know that there is none. There is no impact fees out there. So people saying the town didn't get their fair share is because we haven't did what we were supposed to do. If we had impact fees there, it won't be a discussion of what development is going to do and the development part of it because it's already outlined. But if it's not outlined, then we try to say, okay, this is what's supposed to happen. This is supposed to happen, but we don't have it. And if I recall, Mayor and Ms. Williams, you all said that y'all was working on that. And I said, yeah, let's go ahead and let's talk about it. So we can go ahead and put a lot of stuff behind it. And it takes a lot of, did somebody do something wrong or did somebody not do this and do that if it wasn't in place? So I'm asking now, is it there? If not, I'll be contacting Attorney Shepherd again myself and talking through it.
On March 1st. On March 1st, I stated to you how important it was that we go through the development agreement process with that development down the street. And I stated to you that was important because we did not have impact fees like other cities do. And that's why we were leaving close to $500,000 on the table, and y'all accepted $125,000. The impact fees cannot be assessed until you have an impact fee study. We can't have an impact fee study until we finish the audit. Ms. Gibson cannot finish the audit being bombarded with public records requests, phone calls, and sitting in her office showing her videos or whatever. You have got to let the administration do its job. That impact fee study will be completed when the audit is finally finished. And I stated, I don't know, 2 months ago, and I gotta say this, so it sounds like I'm fussing, and I'm not fussing, but there is frustration because now all of a sudden your lingo is impact fees, impact fees. That was my lingo a while ago. I see that you
So-
listen, but no, let me finish.
All right.
So as soon as
I'm not
that
angry.
study is done, not the study, as soon as the audit is done, I think that's one of the last documents needed for the study. That study, which Attorney Shepherd is already aware of, he's waiting for it. And that will come, hopefully, it can coincide when you bring back the pass-through ordinance. The administration is doing its job.
Can I speak now? So to address that, you can't sell me a house for $400,000, and then you turn around after we done signed the agreement and ask me to give you $500,000. That was my whole problem. You cannot ask somebody, you done sign an agreement, and then let's go and let a lot of elements out the window now, man.
Wait, are you talking about the March 1st
Hold on, man.
conversation?
That's what we're done.
But
So,
you know what,
so let
so
me
that people
talk,
know what
man.
you're saying.
Man, don't divert, let me talk,
All right.
okay? So I keep hearing the excuse of, and I'm going back to impact fee, but I'm gonna address one thing you said. The audit. We keep saying the audit. Let's let the residents know, when was the audit actually due?
This is June 30th.
It's due June 30th. So because it did not take place when it's supposed to take place, now it done got over into budget time, and then everything is, oh, we gotta hold this up because of the audit, Every year, we know when the audit is due. So we can't use that excuse, and I'm not gonna accept that. The audit should have been done June 30th. Now we in budget time, and it's, oh, we can't get you these actual numbers because the audit. That has nothing to do with it. I'm still talking. No, I'm still talking.
Wait, no, let me stop right there, because this is
man,
important.
stop that.
Miss
I'm
Gibson,
talking,
come to that.
man, let's be
No,
fair.
no,
Man,
Miss
let's,
Gibson, come to that. lecture,
no,
please.
man, let's be fair. I let
Miss
you talk.
Gibson.
Now you don't want, now you trying to
No,
divert me off
no.
of what I'm talking
This
about.
is exactly what record. Miss Gibson, I don't want to pick this.
But hold on,
And I'm just gonna keep it right here.
man, you're
Some of the
wrong right
things
now,
that
man.
the auditors have asked for that have something to do with planning, and they've asked you to find it. Have you been able to? find it? Thank you, Ms. Gibson. That's it.
And
Because it's such a mess. It's such a mess for the same planner that you want to pay back pay to. It is a mess. And it- no.
Man,
I put it out there now.
man, it's no.
I put it out there.
I'm glad you put that.
Go ahead.
So Ms. Gibson, I'm glad you're standing there.
Sorry,
So-
Ms. Gibson.
So the audit was due when?
the audit was due June the 30th.
June 30th.
Okay, but when we went back and did an RFP,
We need to do an RFP to change.
I can't remember, 2020, whatever, when it was done. So when the audit was done, it was done in the middle where we should have just did an RFP and just start for the next year to be done.
Stop
So
for a
that
second.
wasn't done that.
Stop for a second.
Okay,
Who voted for that to happen for the RFP?
it was the town council.
Who on the town council? What was the vote? It had to be 3-2 or something like that, right? So who were the people that voted for it?
It was, I think it was 3-2. 3-2.
Because they have be done in 5 years, and it should have already been done.
So man, you follow on why the audit late. Thank you.
So what I want to say too, that what happened is when you get, they did the engagement, so they already had their clients, so they have to put us in with the clients.
And then put us at the back.
But yeah, because they just got in, so what they have to do, they have to go get with the other auditor to get the information to start their process, because they are new auditors and stuff.
So if you had your way, would you have done it then in the middle of the cycle, or you'd wait to the end of the cycle? and
I
do
would
it?
do the RFP just for the following year.
Okay.
But the thing is, hopefully, since they already our new auditor now, they got all the information, we can be on the schedule with it next year.
Thank you, Ms.
Hold on,
Gibson.
Ms. Gibson, also, like, since the
No,
man.
thank you, Ms. Gibson. If you have a question, ask me.
was that year. I'm glad I learned how to write on my tongue, man. So, and since you talked about development, you said it's only 125. Let's go ahead and let's just be honest. It was another 100,000 given back in the day. What happened to that money back?
I wasn't there.
You told me to ask you though, so I'm asking you now. Because I was going to ask you to give some, but I'm asking you now.
You sure it was 100,000, 175,000?
It was 100,000 that was given prior for that same development you
Some
talked
sort of
about.
escrow account that it was put into an escrow account? Is that right?
I don't know. You tell me.
And then over
So
time,
is it still in escrow?
and then probably not this point, because in order to supersede
Okay,
the town council, let
No,
me
no,
finish.
that's
In
good.
order
No,
to
that's
supersede
good,
the
man.
town council,
But then
instead of
also-
using an old agreement,
But
you
also,
went
man,
into a new agreement.
but-
That's what you approved on March
man,
1st.
you're so forgetful right now. But also, since you trying to put all the blame on everybody else, let's talk about everything. Also, that same development, they were gonna do the infrastructure, right?
They have to, they're building a building.
They're gonna need to do the infrastructure from the town side also, correct?
They're going to connect to the
Hello?
town. The town already has infrastructure. They
For
connect to.
the Enclave project,
Yes, and it was gonna cost like $500,000, right?
we already have it down there?
Okay, I want you to wait.
No, don't
The
distract.
agreement, the agreement is for them to put in infrastructure. And without them putting in.
Man, I'm done. I'm going back to my,
They can't
it's
build
actually
it.
my report right now, and you try to reflect, that's your normal tactic, so we'll let you have that. So if impact fee study is not done, we'll do that. Where do we stand with the fee schedules? With all the fee schedules for the town, where do we stand?
I just don't want to answer.
Is it in process?
Because here's where. we
No,
stand.
man, just answer the question. Is it in process?
Here's what I'm telling you, it's administrative. Let us do our job. That's one of the first things I said when I came into the office, is that those fees, even the forms, need to be updated. Let the administration do its job. It's not to divert, deflect anything, just let us do our job. Because in the budget, we took out the internal audit. The main part of your job. And now you're stepping all over to administration.
Well,
So we will make sure that we get you updated and anything is updated, we'll let you know. And if there's any other concerns, please let Ms. Williams know.
well,
Let the administration do its job.
and we expect for the administration to do their job effectively and accountability. And if the administration will not do it, then it's our job as legislators to hold you accountable. And you don't want to be held accountable. It was okay when you was in the other driver's seat, but now that the tide has turned, you don't want to do that. So again, in front of all these people and everything, let's talk about, you talk about fee schedules and all that, and it was important because I wish as many people was here for the budget meeting to be able to see the budget meetings when we was asking all these particular questions that administration could not tell us what's in line item for $175,000, $150,000 wasn't broken down. So that's why the questions are coming up. That's why the questions are coming up, man. But that's fine. I'll say mine for 7:30 meeting. I want to give everybody time to adjust, so I'll get my report.
Yes. Yes. Councilman.
Yes, I just want to make a comment on the code enforcement. I think that's what we would like to, what I would like to see is a report from code enforcement. We hardly ever get any information from code enforcement. And if we can get like a monthly report, so we'll know exactly what the deficiencies are, how many liens we have, and how much of these violators have been the revenue from these violators. We need to know that. So we need to make sure that we have a report to the council. There's maybe from code enforcement. So we'll know what it's being done.
And what part of, please understand, what part of that is legislative?
I just said we just need to have a report. Why not? Why not let the citizens know what is being done? You know why?
So,
I have an old building in front of my house. It's been sitting there for 8 years in the same condition. Nothing was done about it. I know something has been done, put in place, but it's still there. And it's still a whole violation.
so
You have 3 structures over here, West Street and East Street. Those homes over there, there's the dilapidated, the roof are caved in. It's something that must be done. So why can't we just have a report every month on what has been done, what has been accomplished, and also the liens and the violations?
and yes, I hear you, and here's what I'm saying. The administration got a code, mental ordinance code, the code. If you haven't already, a code enforcement ordinance,
So something that happened against the individual.
yes, because that'll help with that, but it was voted down. So we'll bring it back,
Okay.
because a report is simply letting you know if there are any reports on that structure. But an ordinance says something can happen further, take it further, to take care of it. Okay, so if you want to report, if you just send an email to Ms. Williams, that's just information. All right. You're welcome. That is all on the council discussion. If everyone is okay, it is currently 7:08. We'll go ahead and adjourn from the workshop. It's been moved. Moved and second, all in favor, say aye. All opposed? We'll adjourn to 7:30. Okay, I don't mind changing that. Oh, no, standard.
Oh, I was trying to confirm. Oh, the exact date. Yeah, exactly.
When you move, you lose. I'm paid for it, sit back there.
So you make these targets.
Okay.
I'm still working on it.
Okay.
He might have lost the product. Yes, I agree. Yes,
Ms. Lewinsky, is that clear? I'm just asking, is that clear?
Hey, how you doing? I'm
We got chairs, right?
We have 3 minutes before we get started.
We got
If you
chairs.
have cell phones,
Can't put no more in.
please place them on silent or vibrate and turn them off. If you want to speak in general, please complete a sheet, a form over there, give it to Ms. Williams. If you want to speak on any of the public hearing items, you will have an opportunity during that hearing period to speak. So there are 2 speaking periods. In the beginning, if you want to speak on something general not pertaining to the public hearing items, or if you want to speak regarding the public hearing items, then you will speak during that particular time. It is Tuesday, September 20th, 7:30. We are now opening up for our regular council meeting for the town of Eatonville. Ms. Williams, do you have a quorum? Yes, ma'am. Will you please stand for the invocation by Reverend Creighton, followed by the pledge.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you again for this day that you have our being. And thank you for this community of Eatonville that you have put within the stewards. We continue to lift up this administration, that you give discretion and determination to make decisions that bring glory to you. Good. Lift up each resident. To bless us to live in harmony, one another. Respect each other's personalities and problems. Again, thank you for this town council meeting. Continue to educate us and update us on the state and welfare of this community. We thank you for all things that you're doing in, through, and for Eatonville. again honor you and we are thanking you for all things. We actually just in Jesus' name.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two items for public hearing. The first item is the approval of the first reading of. Oh, I'm sorry. The approval of the agenda, and I do want to acknowledge that Vice Mayor did want to add an item for council decision, or are you going to bring up during your discussion?
Council decision.
If we're all in favor of the item regarding Mr. Henderson, the motion, if we put the motion on the floor to add the item,
So move.
Second.
it's been moved to second. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? So the item regarding Mr. Henderson will be added to council discussion.
Council decision.
Council decisions, thank you. Number 8. So I move for approval of the agenda. Is moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Yeah, citizen participation for any.
Opposed.
Oh. All opposed? It is now time for citizen participation for any item that is not in the public hearing. So if you have anyone to speak, Ms. Williams, do you have anyone?
No, that's not on me.
That's not speaking in regards to the public hearing items.
Brian, go back.
Council, Mayor, citizens, Brian Novak, Gabriel Lab, President. So over the last month or so, I don't know who to thank, but if you could please extend my thanks to whoever's been updating at least the homepage of the website. It's been pretty prompt with pertinent information for me to check instead of waiting for my water bill. So I appreciate that. My proposal still stands if you guys do need someone to manage and maintain the new website. In the background, it's a computer programming major. I currently work in advertising technology, so I know computers. Also, Councilmember Randolph, I want to thank you as well for taking the time to review and respond to my pickleball proposal. That really means a lot, and yeah, very, very cool. Hopefully something can happen. My game's been rained out lately, so I haven't been able to play. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
There are no bets. Will you come with the Lord?
Good evening, Mayor. I just want to bring up briefly about the flooding that's going on in Cowley Park. And, you know, I can't remember the number of years ago, they had people in working on the drainage system and everything. They told us that was going, flood or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, you get 10 minutes of rain and I got 2 feet of water in front of my house that's coming up close to my front door now. Every time cars back on. I just want to, say that as a citizen and some of the people in Cowley Park that's not here or that's out in the hallway that can't get in, we're just asking for a quick resolution. So for this to be happening. Not blaming anybody. Just saying if y'all can look to do something about that soon. My backyard is like a swamp. I can't even walk. And all of your public work people can testify to that because they're
That's all I have to say about that.
Victoria Housing.
Your housing, 567 Catherine Avenue in Highland Park. I'm having the same issues, haven't been able to get my lawn cut for about 4 weeks. Had rubber boots on, water was, has my ankle up. My yard is flooded, water is coming off, going down the street. If we can get some help in Highland Park, it would be nice. Me and the neighbor, we walked down the street, cleaned out the drains. The drains are full with trash, all kind of debris, sand and everything. If we can get some help down there, it would be nice.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, fellow residents. I wanted to, over the last 2 months, I think you guys passed 6 budget workshops, 2 budget hearings, 1 extension of a budget hearing. And there's an item on the agenda tonight for a wage study. I know that Councilor Marvin Daniels and I we had a discussion. And I would challenge you first to understand or to consider the fact that I think you all need to move in the direction of establishing or getting together for a strategic retreat. Over the last 6 months since this particular board has come on and started, there's been constant discussions about pay studies and job descriptions and how much you should be paid. And I don't want to discount your professional expertise or your experience, but I think it's time for you to maybe do an RFP, an RFQ with a qualified firm to do an actual compensation and classification study. Because it was disheartening sitting yesterday and watching you all go through 3 hours of talking about salaries, where you effectively, on a couple of positions, reduced hourly wages. Whether that was intentional or not, I'm not certain. So I would challenge you to get together and come up with a common vision, come up with some prioritized goals and objectives. Because had that been done prior to this budget season, you may have had a firm recommend what those job descriptions should be, what the salary should be, what the salary ranges should be. The second thing that I want to talk about is the item that is on the agenda for the relationship with the Eatonville Chamber. I think that the Eatonville Chamber has been doing a wonderful job. They have stepped into establishing relationships with not only our locally owned minority companies, but also those that are probably located along Lake Destiny and then companies that are outside of our area. So kudos to the chamber. Along with that, my question would be, have you all looked into what is the true vision for that relationship? How are you going to help them with that space? If there are any costs related to that, was that considered in your budget process? Because again, in Councilman Marlon Daniels, I think we try to talk a lot about detail, but I think we need to probably do a study and understand what the amount is before we make that official tonight.
Is there anyone else? All right, so citizen participation is closed.
Mine was there. Mine was there. No, mine was for the citizen participation.
Yeah,
Oh, it's still citizen participation.
she wanted for
What,
not.
that was for anything that was not part of the public hearing.
Mine's not part.
On the first property development.
well, mine's not a part, that's seriously, it won't be, I won't be speaking on it. Like there's enough. people to speak on. Yes, I'm sorry.
You are for it. Well,
Good evening to mayor and council. I'm sorry. Briefly, just before this meeting, got a phone call. Letter went out saying former Mayor Edward Cole had this developer. It connected every kid outreach who's been a part of the community for over 30-something years. So many kids, matter of fact, we got kids that been there. When I look, even up on the council, all but one either participated or their children participated. So many kids. They connected my daughter, who is deceased. Eatonville is going through a situation right now. It's not political. Just some evil people and just always mad. And then the others are opportunists, trying to see what they can get. That's why I was okay, win or lose, because mine wasn't about the title, it's the responsibility. I have life after it. I still do things. But this letter that went out, it was said, the gentleman said that he referred to talk to two council people before he put it out. So two, whoever it is, two up there knows about this. I will give you the opening wake-up call today. If you want to know a pack rat and somebody that does research, because I'm a grant writer, I have every piece that you can think of if I chose to use it. However, I live it. So if I say things like the town, it affects the whole city. But believe me, this is the last roll call for me speaking. Too many things that have been done has not been right. And this is not about the homeless development, but on Enclave. I got an email that I didn't even know I had my old phone. I broke it, so I paid for it. And in it, it had an email saying the mayor would like you to bring the papers back from the planning department that I took. If I didn't know not to look at this phone, my email is not ecode at iCloud. That was the bad thing, that I have to just go in here and see it. Never had no papers. The other thing is what they don't say about Enclave. That was something that someone in here making, let's say, $40,000. They get a brand new apartment for $797 a month because it is not affordable. It's workforce home. We're not taking care of each other because we're worried about being mad with each other. When Holstein came, it started with Mayor Grant. I carried on what he did as well as Vice Mayor Angela Thomas. It would be wrong for me to come in as a new mayor and shut it down. That'd be wrong. Now we're gonna have over $200,000 a year in new revenue for the town, which our water is down all the time. Everything is down. I'm not angry, but I'm putting on notice to start getting emails tomorrow. And I will deal with this, because this is pretty bad. Pretty bad. And if anybody is a part of it, I'm sorry. I'm putting you on notice. Thank you.
Residents, council. My name is Jay Johnson. I live at 142 Lincoln Road. I really discussed it. Going on with our water. Our water has been cut off several times this month, several times this year already. Really disgusting. I have a sickly child that's being affected. We all get affected. All the residents get affected. I believe that we need to do something about this. We need some resolution. We need something done immediately. Infrastructure or something. Tired of the boil water alerts. Tired. I'm sick of it. Last time we went on an alert. You all were supposed to notify us back. Nobody notified me. To my knowledge, I didn't get any notification. I'm tired of that. If something gonna be done about this, something has to be done about this. I'm frustrated. I'm really frustrated. It's sick. You gotta wash up in boil water from a darn basin. This is not the 1940s, y'all. We got showers now. We need to take showers. Another thing is, I'm tired of the hangout in front of the stores up on my block. I'm really tired of that. I'm sick of that, as a matter of fact. And I'm addressing I want something done about that. Or it's gonna be some repercussions on it. And I'm gonna take some repercussions with several citizens, that is. We're gonna walk the streets if I have to. We're gonna play back on the streets. I'm tired of that hanging out there. I'm really sick of it. We need to get this in order. All right.
Now the public hearing stage regarding approval of first reading of PL 2022.
Ordinance 2022. Sorry, I have 06. So this is ordinance 2022-06. Ordinance of the town of Eatonville, Florida, ordinance 2022-06, amending the text of the town's comprehensive plan to include a private property rights element provided by, as required by general law, providing for transmission, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members, members of the board, and members of the community. My name is Tara Salmary. I'm the planner consultant with the town of Eatonville. Tonight, the property rights element is here before you. We brought that in a workshop, and then we've had another meeting about the element as well. Technology, you gotta love it. Okay. All right. So the property rights element, the purpose of that, we've gone over this. I just wanted, especially for any of the residents, if this is the first time they're hearing it. There was a bill, it's House Bill 59, that was signed into law June 29th, 2021. It modified the Florida statutes to require all local governments comprehensive plans to contain a property rights element. They gave until July 1st, 2021 to adopt this comp plan amendment. If the amendment is not adopted, any amendments to the comprehensive plan will not be permitted until that element is done. The property rights element before you, really the policies, there's 4 of those, and it's directly from the statute. There is no additional items that were put in. It's just to meet the minimum requirements of the House bill. And it really is to talk about property rights, setting forth policies in the comprehensive plan to make land use and zoning decisions. Most of the items that are in the policies, most jurisdictions are already doing. It's the right of the property owner to physically possess and control his or her interest in the property. The right of the property owner to use, maintain, develop, and improve their property, personal use, or any other person subject to state law. The right of the property owner for privacy, to exclude others from the property, to protect the owner's possessions. And then the right of the property owner to dispose of his or her property through sales or gift. In August, we brought that particular amendment forward to the planning board. The planning board made a recommendation to approve the element. And tonight, the council has the opportunity to have a recommendation of denial, recommendation of approval, recommendation of approval with conditions, and lastly, recommendation of approval in part with or without conditions and denial in part. I'm available for any questions if council has.
The floor is now open for anyone wishing to speak on the property rights element. Seeing that there is no one, the Then I gotta put it on the report. Are you right, sis?
So, even though they filled out these citizen participation form and you open it up to public hearing, are we recognizing these now or at the end?
For the property rights only.
Oh,
That's
okay.
not for.
Oh, not for- okay. The motion. So the motion is on the floor to approve ordinance 2022-6 of the town of Eatonville, amending the text of the town's comprehensive plan to include a private property rights element. It's been moved, is there a second?
Second discussion.
It's been moved in second. Councilman Daniels,
I think it's the point that we said, this is the first reading, I think you said first reading.
first reading, thank you. I said the year again. All right, so it's been moved in second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Next item on the agenda, approval of the first reading of development 2022. I'm gonna say 07 or 02.
This should be 07.
07. 08, and 09. 07, 22 dash 2022 dash 7 dash 8 and dash 9. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll
Read it first.
ordinance number 2022-07, ordinance of the town of Eatonville, Florida, ordinance number 2022-7, amending the text of the town's comprehensive plan. And the text of the future land use element policy, 1.6. Future land use map, necessity tables, providing for transmission, providing for severability, providing for complex, and providing for effective date. Ordinance number 2022-08, an ordinance of the town of Eatonville, Florida, ordinance number 2022-8. Amending the town's comprehensive plan to change the future land use map designation for property generally located south of East Kennedy Boulevard, west of Limor Road, from commercial to mixed use on the town's official plan future land use map, providing for transmission, providing for severability, providing for conflict. And ordinance number 2022-9, an ordinance of the town of Eatonville, Florida, ordinance number 2022-9, and then the text of land generally located south of East Kennedy Boulevard, east of North Limor Road, providing for transmission, providing for severability, providing for conflict, providing for effectiveness. And for clarification, the first two ordinances, 07 and 08, are for transmission to the state as signature for land use, as comprehensive plan minutes. And I also provided printed copies of 2022-7 because one of the tables was forwarded by the planning board, and one of the tables titled under for mixed use development on page 2, public / the not called the row, public institution row, should have had not applicable for the max percent land use max, because they can use as much of it as public institutions they want. And that also applies to the same table, which is reflected in 2020.
Guys, the images are not coming up on the PowerPoint.
I can get us to see after the voting.
Staff report.
can continue, it's just, none of the images are loading, so.
Is it up in maps and
Yeah.
sites?
Yeah. And all the tables.
Our documents will go ahead and continue.
I apologize. While they're working that out, I'll just start with the application. It's the Hungerford property. The project is generally located south of East Kennedy Boulevard and east of North Plymore Road. The project is a little over 100 acres. It's a mixed-use development that's proposing commercial, office, retail, service, residential, and civic uses. The applicant is requesting 3 particular items for amendments. Before I get into those amendments, I'll just kind of go through briefly the application process. The application process on April 28th is when I started assisting the town. There was a hearing on the 28th. On May 2nd, that hearing was continued for lack of data and information from the applicant. On May 2nd, I provided data requests to the applicant. On the 11th, the applicant responded and provided some of the information that was still missing information. On June 13th, I also met with the development team along with the town attorney at the time to go over the sufficiency of the application and then asked for the items again. July 1st, an updated application supporting documentation was provided. And August 18th was a planning board meeting. And in that planning board meeting, that's also part of the board package. You'll have that staff report, and you'll also have the applicant's request. And here, this map is really the generation of the Hungerford property. That there are 2 comprehensive plan requests. The request of the comprehensive plan element will go, if the council approves any of the requests, the next step of that is to go to the state and all the relevant agencies to discuss, for them to review the actual amendments to your comprehensive plan. The third request is an actual zoning ordinance that is a modification to an existing ordinance that does not have to go to the state, but that stays in the city, and those are amendments. And I'll go through all of those individually. The map that you see, the very first discussion item is the amendment to the future land use map. The future land use map has the area that's in kind of the orange with the stripe, that area, and it already has the mixed land use designation on the property. The areas, there's about 11 acres that you'll see kind of in that L shape that's right here, that is a commercial land use. The applicant is requesting the entirety of this boundary to actually be the mixed use land use designation and to amend the comp plan to remove the commercial designation, but permit mixed use land use. So that's one of the ordinances that was just read. So one request is the amendment of the comprehensive plan map amendment. The second item is, go up to page, stay on the page that you just on, please. Yep, and then just move down. Okay, so the second part of the comprehensive plan amendment is a text amendment that involves two tables. One of the tables in the future land use element has, on that mixed use area, there was criteria for minimum and maximum land use mix. The mixed use land use category that's assigned to the Hungerford land is predominantly a non-residential mixed use category. What it is today is a 5% minimum residential, 20% minimum commercial office, and a 40% minimum commercial retail service use. The change of those two requests are about a 75% reduction of what the current land use requires in the minimum. The applicant requested a 5% to go from a 20% to a 5% of the commercial office and go from 40% to a 10%. What you'll see here, the maximum land use mix, the applicant requested 30% to increase that. The planning board's recommendation was to reduce it back to the 20, which is the original mixed land use. And also, part of the recommendations on staff report was to require, you wouldn't mind going to the next page, please. It would be to require that the minimum percentage of use requirements had to be met before maximums could be used. The other was to have the public institution at 5%, have that remain, and then no maximum on your public institutional. So that was the last. The planning board did recommend everything that's in red is what the planning board had recommended, which was to reduce that back from, the request was 30% down to 20, and to have the minimum percentage use requirements had to be met before you could go to the maximum. So that's item number 2. So those particular items are really the items for the comprehensive plan. So those are the 2 ordinances. The third actual ordinance, and in the staff report is a little bit confusing as well. So I apologize on the, I'm gonna see when the developer has time to come up and see if I can bring up some of these tables so you can see them better, because this is not a good, clear explanation. The zoning ordinance that is on Hungerford already permits a mixed land use. Even though it's vacant, it does have those entitlements. The mixed use development categories for the HPRD zoning ordinance mirrored the categories in the land use. So the applicant's request is basically the exact same request they have for your comp plan, they wanted in the HPRD. So the reduction of the non-residential and the increase in residential. The planning board also mirrored, their recommendation was to not increase the residential, but yet to still require the minimums to be met before maximums of any land use could be obtained. The other, there's a table as well in the HPRD that was a use table. There are, you'll see it's above that table just in text. There is a table that now, you're right there on there. You're actually right there. Yeah, so there's a table in the ordinance that gives you uses that are permitted. The applicant asked for additional uses that were actually already on the table, and some were in a yellow with a strike through with notes from previous staff that once the comp plan was adopted, that those changes were in effect. The ordinance did not reflect those. but we realized that was the intent. So some of the items, one of the examples is the multifamily. So the new use table adds farmers markets. That was also been discussed at some of the meetings with citizens, essential services to add parks and recreation. And then that's the use part. The next part, if you wouldn't mind, going just a little bit more for me. The next part is actual other sections in the HPRD that they do cap the dwelling units. That was the planning board's recommendation. The applicant, I believe, wanted 3.9 dwelling units per acre, not to exceed 390. The planning board reduced that to 3.5 with 350 dwelling units. That matches the 20% that was part of the request. The next part was a minimum lot size. The original application, the applicant did ask for 1,800 square feet for, at the time, what they requested was for a detached home. The intent was not for it to be a detached home, it was for a townhome. This was rejected by staff, so the planning board did not make a recommendation because of the way it was worded with the applicant. We spoke with the applicant. It was clear the intent was only for the townhome and not an actual single family residential home. The HPRD ordinance today does not have a minimum square foot. What it does provide is to allow the applicant and the town council during site development plan approval to negotiate that. The applicant has asked for an actual square footage instead of that negotiation as part of the preliminary plat and site plan. So that's another. And the distance between buildings, there's been some talk about removing this and only allowing the fire marshal to make the determination. Staff rejected that request and also suggested to the planning board that the HPRD does deliver the exact same notion. We had spoken with the applicant about other alternatives. We left it for them to provide us additional information. They did not, so we maintained the actual request. There's another table that is not there that is actually part of the request, which is the minimum lot size requirements. The applicant has requested detached single family medium sized homes to have a setback of 10 feet in the front versus the 15. They've made a request to increase the maximum lot coverage from 30 and 40% to 75%. And the multifamily to increase the height. This is actually, I apologize, actually part of the comp plan amendment too, to increase the height for multifamily from 40 feet to 50 feet. So that is in the comp plan amendment as well as HPRD. The other two additional conditions that the planning board recommended as part of the staff proposal was 2 additional items on conditions of the planning board to recommend, and they move forward with those. One is the developer's agreement needs to be executed prior to any site development plan or plat approval. You do already have that in the code, but the requirements that I put in was to require it to be consistent with the policies of the comprehensive plan as it relates to phasing, the mix of use, the lake access, the uses, the housing, open space, concurrency, and other policies that affect the overall design and intent of the project. The reason why I added those was your comprehensive plan has policies for Hungerford and the criteria for Hungerford that are not in the HPRD ordinance. So I just wanted to make sure that what your policies are today transfer into the development. The other criteria that I put in as well is a Hungerford design guidebook to be drafted also consistent with the comprehensive plan policies, and to really ensure that the development meets the vision, goals, and objectives that were provided. And that was provided in section 7 of the planning board report, which pointed directly to the vision, objectives, and policy commitments that the applicant made in their request for being able to have an option to purchase this. So I do think it's important that the applicant did have a lot of commitments in their proposal that did not appear in the application. And my recommendation was to ensure that what the applicant had committed to as part of the selection of being able to purchase the land, that they would actually transfer that to the town as well, and not just to the sale. So those were the two other things. And when the applicant is here, I will go through, if there's any of those tables, I can bring those up so you can see those. I apologize for the PowerPoint. Let's see, is there any more going? Okay, and that was just in your board packet. You'll have the staff report that was for the planning board. You'll have the applicant has a justification and background report. The part of the data and analysis that's required in the 2 ordinances that go to the state is to talk about why a land use has to change and what will result and what kind of impacts occur as a result of changing that land use. Do you want me to have any questions answered at this point, or do you want me to come back to Mayor?
I think I'm just going to finish. That'd be the best thing.
Right, and if you don't have any, if nobody on the council has any questions, then we can have the applicant come up here.
So we can speak before.
Yes, you can. You can ask questions of the planner now, but.
Councilwoman.
Yes, thank you very much. I just want to be able just to come to an understanding for the residents, so that when they understand exactly what is this use. But a lot of this terminology, a lot of people do not really understand it.
Yes, ma'am.
And I don't want anyone to leave here to be misinformed. Okay. So we need to know what is the difference between commercial, what is commercial, what is commercial mixed use. And then you need to understand also about the residential properties. I know what you said about the townhomes and also the regular single family homes.
Yes.
So we want to make sure we clarify so everybody understands exactly what we're speaking of. Thank you.
Okay, so the mixed use is a land use category that's in your future land use. If you'll go, this is how kind of we started, was this particular, that's the Hungerford piece. That's considered a mixed land use, even though it's vacant, it has entitlements on it.
Okay, now hold it right there. That's great that you just said. Now, what is that? Is
Yeah,
that
I'm going right there.
commercial with apartments on the top, or what is it?
That's the next page, I'll go into that detail again. So if you, sorry, you scroll up just a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so the mixed use development, that's why in this mixed use land use category in your comp plan, it allows for residential. And the residential in the comp plan is very broad. It says it will have anything from single family homes that are large, small, or medium. It can have a townhome and it can have apartment. So all of that category is permitted in that development. The commercial office, when in your comp plan today, it's 20%, and that means anything that is considered non-residential that has a supporting office. So it could be banks, or it could be an office building, or it could be a salon, or so a range of personal services. The commercial retail service use also can be retail, that can be restaurants, that can be personal services as well. So there's a distinction of, in some ways, the 20% was more office uses and the 40% was more commercial retail. So that it would be gathering places, coffee shops, restaurants. It could be a jazz club, things like that. So that would be the nature of it. And this is already as part of the land use. There is not a criteria in the land use to require retail on the bottom and apartments up top. It doesn't require it, however, it permits it. So there could be buildings that had that mix of use. Like I'll give you a good example that's real close by is Maitland. You know how they did that downtown, their downtown. I mean, you actually have a downtown, but they created a downtown. So, so they have the first level of, services, and then they have apartments above. That would be kind of another example of a mixed use. There are criteria in your comprehensive plan that says that there cannot be strip development, and in planning words, strip development means almost, it's not to pick on any site, but it would be kind of the shopping center next to town hall. That would be considered a shopping center because there's multiple tenants and they sit back. So this particular category is what I would say is more the desire, what I would interpret the original mixed uses to be more of like a Winter Park Village. That's what clear that up for you. Is there anything else you want me to add to it?
One more thing here, because I have a real big concern. We're trying to develop and build more town. My concern is the front property on Kennedy Boulevard. I'd like to know how is that going to work. We're talking about apartments over there on that particular strip, or we're talking about commercial or retail in the front there.
Well, you have a land use policy that requires retail along Kennedy. That is a comprehensive plan requirement. And I would ask for the applicant to address that particular question. The policies, you have a policy in place that can require that retail along Kennedy, and it actually, there's policies that speak about it being a main street as well. So those criteria are in place, and they should be in your view.
For that same answer, what about Wyman Road? What is the policy currently states?
The policy currently states on Weimar's office.
It's commercial on Wyman Road as well.
Yes, sir.
Design. Concerned about design. We being the first municipality, African American in the United States, incorporate. The design that we have has to be cultural. It cannot be like a plain architectural design like we have in some of the other surrounding areas. So we want to make sure that we have identification of our heritage and our culture here in Eatonville that blends with the town.
I hear what you're saying, and I do think that it's very, very loosely addressed in the HPRD zoning ordinance, and it does state in this is the zoning ordinance that was in place as of 2016. So there were some things that were put in, but it's very broad. So I would say that I would encourage you to consider adding more specificity to that. It does allow for a unified design and function, but there could be more criteria that got added to ensure that you were getting that. The other thing that I apologize, since since I was relying on my PowerPoint presentation, the thing that I did not acknowledge that I want to do is there were 4 opportunities for the public have input on this project. There was a listening session April 13th with over 50 attendees. It's a planning board workshop on the 22nd of April. There was a planning board regular meeting on the 28th. And then there was a planning board meeting on August 18th. There was some key things that most of the public that came up talked about. There were concerns about the amount of residential that was coming in. There was more of a desire for local retailers and shops. There was expressed concern that this was not affordable for the residents in the town. There was some discussion on not having any apartments. There was a question on the preservation of the heritage and culture of the town, and to create safe spaces for residents to enjoy, keep access to the lake public and not private, and traffic concerns.
Ms. Alvarez, can you talk about landscape and green space?
What would you like me to talk about? In the code or in the
In the
criteria?
code and criteria.
Okay, so the HPRD ordinance defers to your code for the landscape standards. The landscape standards that the town has in place, I don't believe are sufficient enough to ensure that you have a really well landscaped development. You have very minimum criteria, which is usually like a 5 foot, but there's no criteria for parking lots. And what's interesting, that's why I relied on the comp plan, because the comp plan talks about complete streets, which complete street is like a buzzword, but really what it means is you're building a street that people can walk on and they can drive, but it's also equally accessible, so you don't have to have a vehicle. So there's lots of things in the comp plan that encourages that, but you don't have policies in place to ensure that will happen.
You and I also discussed some of our outdated sign ordinance and all that, because that's key to me, not just having any kind of signs and stuff just all over the place. And we want to be to the same standard as anyone else is. So can you talk about that as well?
Yes, sir. The sign code that you have today is very outdated. It does allow for large signs. In your comp plan, it talks about creating this pedestrian environment, people can walk, but the signs are so large that they don't really, there's a mismatch on how you can do a sign. So if you want somebody who's about 3 miles away to see you, you have a great sign for that. If you want somebody walking, it's not gonna fulfill that same walkable place. So yes, your sign standard, I believe should also be looked at.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So do you want us to ask all of the questions or?
Here's your,
Okay.
or let me ask the town attorney.
Right, it's your call.
Okay. I mean, because I can wait and then ask. I just want to ask and then.
Before you do that, I would also like to refer back to Solomon at a different time also.
Right.
You can also listen to the
Right.
developer, whatever the developer may alleviate any concern in their presentation. That's their presentation. And ask after the developer or ask after the public.
Okay. Well, quick, do you remember why, in the distance between the buildings, you stated that they didn't want the fire department to determine that?
Oh, no, actually, if you wouldn't mind going down, so there's something in the HPRD ordinance that has a minimum criteria. There you go. Right there, yep, and it's letter G. Oh, it might be. Here's my eyesight.
G.
Good,
Yes,
okay.
G.
I gotta thank my laser guy. Okay, the distance between buildings, this is what's in the HPRD that has this minimum of 20 feet separating structures. The request was that the applicant wanted just the fire marshal to determine that versus this standard. Yeah, that was their request, and I deferred back to a minimum of 20 feet and suggested if they brought the fire marshal standards to us to review, that we could review those, but the applicant did not do that.
They have to come back to the agreement. I like the design book. And I think my next question may be for you, and this is in regards to page 6. If it were the policies are all listed, and policy 1.11.7 remote town center special district east of I-4.
That's, I think you're referring, I'm not sure what page 6, but I'm almost positive you're referring to the future land use element, 1.6.
So my question was about it being the term special district. And here is my question, and it might be your question.
I'm trying to find this.
It's
Page 3.
it's from the July staff report packet. What policy there? It's policy.
1.11.7.
Yes.
Town center special district.
Yes, so here's my question. Our whole town right now is a CRA district. So special, and in some municipalities, there is a special tax district, special district assessment. This being, to me, could this be a special district? Could there be an assessment, even though we are all CRA, it's all in the CRA? So you may have to get back with me on that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the assessment is usually for a specific, you're doing something specific for the property, so like.
And for me, it would be the maintenance. If this particular development would be a special, make a special district so that any extra upkeep in regards to impacting the town or anything like that. So it's a question because I know that other municipalities have.
We would have to get back to you on that because it would also depend on what exactly, we'd have to say what the maintenance is.
Okay,
And then there's a whole hearing process involved in actually passing such assessment.
okay, here's the other, if I go down to, this is in regards to public facilities. If I have the question here, but the policy really doesn't matter. It's policy 12.6.1. And the question is, it talks about impacts of development and provide provisions for potable water, sanitary sewer, solid waste and drainage. Here's my question. If we currently have $5.9 million grant to help with that process, if that's going to save the developer money, then I would like to see the town in credit of some sort. Does that sound reasonable?
I don't think that $5.9 million is for the town's overall services. Is that right?
Right, well, it's for the reason I'm asking, and it's just a question, is because they're gonna provide provisions for potable water, sanitary sewer. Now, if it's just for if what we're doing does not connect in any way to what the new development, what's happening in the new development, then I get that. But if what we're doing in any way impacts or reduces the cost of what they're doing, then I'd like for the town to receive credit for that. It may not, but it's a question.
We can discuss that with you, but theoretically, they can be required to perform their own
Yes.
upgrades. And,
That I know.
but as for like impacts on that's what impact fees would attach to is to the extent that there are upgrades and they attach to you to increase their costs. That's where impact fees would come from. So that's how you deal with that. But we can get back to that.
I think that's it. So we're not in.
Pardon?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Mayor, council members, my name is Derek Bruce, I'm with the Dunster Law Firm. I'm here representing the applicant and proposed developer. It's a privilege to be here and be with all of you all tonight. See a lot of interest in this project and robust participation in this conversation. It's what is a very important conversation about the future. You've heard from your town planner. Okay. About a lot of the technical aspects of what's in your code, what's been requested. I want to come back to about 30,000 feet to talk about what this property and what this proposed project are. It is about 100 acres of mixed use, of a site for mixed use. And as we heard earlier, the plan calls for office and commercial space along Wymore Road, and then Main Street retail along Kennedy Boulevard. And then in addition, there'll be over 5 acres of dedicated open space that will be available to be used by all the residents of Eatonville, as well as the residents that will be part of this project. In addition, there'll be 6 acres of civic space that we'll look at on a future slide that will be turned over and dedicated to the town for its own use. And then there'll be a mix of single-family townhome and multi-family residential that will be part of the project. And just for everyone's understanding and knowledge, so Mary did talk about the entitlements, and as this property sits today, and as it's been zoned, there is entitlement to 3.5 dwelling units per acre. So over this 100 acres, there's entitlement to about 350 dwelling. That's as it sits today, and we aren't requesting any more than that. Just to kind of give you a little bit more in the way of background for how we got here. In June of 2016, this council, although composed differently, adopted unanimously the Hungerford Plan of the HPRD, the Hungerford Plan Redevelopment District zoning ordinance, providing for the space use project to include all of the things that we talked about, residential, commercial, and public uses. So this is, I want to share with you all kind of a bird's eye view of what the plan, what the project would look like at maturity. First of all, up here in the upper left hand corner, you'll see Wymore Road here, and there's Kennedy Boulevard along the top. And so what we talked about is that these would be commercial and office uses along Wymore Road. And then it'd be commercial and retail along Kennedy Boulevard. The residential component will be in the interior, behind both the commercial as well as the retail, and close to Lake Bell and the retention area, as well as setback a little bit off of Wymore. And we'll talk through each one of those in a little bit. So this plan was not generated or put together just on the back of the napkin. We did a lot of homework before submitting a proposal on this. We engaged many of the elected officials, community leaders, some of whom are here in the room tonight, and then stakeholders, both prior to and after submitting the application. We also reviewed the town's CRA redevelopment plan, and there's some key components of that I'm going to go into a little detail on in just a minute. And then, as you heard earlier, there have been several different opportunities for public input prior to today, April 13th, April 22nd, April 28th, and then the planning and zoning meeting, or the planning board meeting on August 8th. So I mentioned the 2015 CRA redevelopment plan because that was a time at which the town really took a look at the Hungerford property and what was available for growth and development within it, and identified and put in writing in a pretty detailed and lengthy document the priorities and the themes that it wanted to see, particularly related to the Hungerford property. And in that CRA plan, and I'm going to read this because I think it's important. This plan has identified 5 themes that are interconnected to meet a desired vision for a healthy, vibrant, and livable town that embraces history and culture. These 5 themes include creating a quality sense of place, character, and image, developing high-performance infrastructure, reinforcing a place that embraces history, culture, and education, a connected town, and a place that is attractive to business and economic opportunity. We believe we're delivering on that vision. Here's more language from the CRA update, and I'm not going to belabor and take the time to read all of it. But you do see where it says the town has a unique opportunity to create a sense of place with the development of the Hungerford site. This was a vision articulated 7 years ago. This will require creative master planning, updating current land use regulations with particular attention to the mixing of uses, parking requirements, and turnabout, density as intensity, and intensity as well as mass and scale. And here's where the CRA redevelopment plan, talked about embracing history and culture. And this was what they called the highest priority in the workshops, was creating this sense of place, was the importance of the acknowledgement of Eatonville's history and its culture. And then the town asked for the establishment of a specific cultural and arts area within the master plan. So these next few slides, I'm offering, and our team is offering a rendering of what we believe delivers on the vision that the town articulated back in 2015. This is what we envision the area along Kennedy Boulevard looking like, the commercial retail space. That I know that there's 2 restaurants that we might not end up wanting to have 2 competing against each other, one right next to each other, but you'll get an idea of perhaps a coffee shop being one of them. But really commercial centers that create a sense for a place for people to go, to live, to walk, and to build a sense of community where you pass by your neighbor on Saturday morning as you go to get a meal. For office, really, I didn't have to use a rendering to create a vision, although this is a kind of in the project rendering. You all are, the town is already in the process of bringing office space to Wymore Road. And frankly, what we see is our development complementing that to the north. Now, the mix of residential uses that we contemplate includes what you see here, which is townhomes. This will be, again, just set back a little bit off of Wymore Road, south of what is the Hostock building. single family that will be homes, and the townhomes are homes that people own. They just have a connecting wall. These are single family residences that will be along Lake Bell. And again, these will be homes that that are available for purchase by folks who want this particular lifestyle. Yeah. Oh my heavens. I have the drive. I don't think so. Does this have to be in here, Joe?
If you want the remote.
Okay, I can go with that. Let's try this.
I have the same issue that I have. I can really not image it.
How about the road? Trust me.
Can't do that.
The problem is mine. This one. I don't think I have that. Why? Mine is a,
Scroll down and see if I get it, but I think I have the same problem.
there we go. Okay. We'll leave this in. And this is a rendering of what our proposed multifamily would look like. And again, this would be set behind the retail on Kennedy as well as the commercial on Whitehall. One thing I want to point out is the height that Selmary talked about earlier. One of the things that was incorporated in the design here was something that we did voluntarily, and that is to have these as 3 stories rather than 4. And part of the reason for that is to have them not be visible from the person driving or walking along either Kennedy Boulevard or Whitehall. So think about yourself standing in the middle of either one of those streets and looking at the commercial and or the retail along there. You would not see the tops of the multifamily behind it. And that's going to become important for reasons we're going to talk about. Just next slide. And then we were careful to include open spaces that are available to the public in our plan, including see a lakefront with a gazebo. That's something very similar that we incorporated into the neighborhood that would abut Lake Bell, that again would have a public walkway and public access to it. Next slide. So one of the things that we've heard from engaging with the community as well as the leaders is, okay, how do we ensure that what we're wanting and what we're looking for in terms of retail that we can have? And so we looked at 3 different models here in Central Florida. All of whom have proven to be pretty darn successful. But frankly, these are the templates that we see that the town can embrace in concert with the developer as we go through the master planning process. The first one we looked at was Foxy Park, which is a collection of restaurants and small food establishments in Lake Nona. And that in a very small site on 2 acres, you have 10 vendors from whom people can go get a meal, purchase a drink, and the like. And all of that's situated on a small site. That's not even the smallest building. Next slide. The next example is Plant Street in Winter Garden. Along Plant Street in Winter Garden, a pretty bustling commercial district has cropped up. For those of us, I went to junior high school, so I'm dating myself in Winter Garden. It didn't look anything like that when I was there. But now you have a place that people gravitate to, get out of their car and walk along the street, and whether it's to get a meal, stop and get ice cream, or make an entire experience out of several hours. And that's 12 vendors on 1 acre there. And then East End Market is down the road on Corinne Drive near Audubon Park and Baldwin Park. And there's this structure was a church that I guess the congregation moved and vacated the site, and East End Market opened up there. It has, again, it bustles. It has a very popular restaurant called Domu that's situated there. That doesn't take reservations, and it's full all the time. They've got 15 vendors, so where you can go and get fresh baked bread, desserts, get coffee, and the like. There's 15 vendors on 1 acre site. These are the types of case studies that we envision creating here in the town of Eatonville. Next slide. And how do we believe we'll do that? We believe that we'll do that while embracing the history and the culture of this wonderful town, by developing partnerships, frankly, with this council and with businesses, vocational and not-for-profit organizations like the Eatonville Chamber of Commerce that you all are formalizing a relationship with tonight to meet these goals and these needs that were incorporated into our proposal and into our plan. Because frankly, we look at it, I put a couple of examples on the side where a welcome from the town could be a very, very powerful recruiting tool for businesses that we want to encourage to come to the town. And this is this is not pipe dream stuff, because I can tell you literally today, I fielded 2 calls, one from a lending institution and then one from a commercial business. Said, hey, we want to be in that commercial space. And then the priority that was established back in 2015, our plan does include the establishment of an arts district to integrate and showcase both Bible arts. We come to this slide, and I want to just emphasize that one of the things that we hear pretty consistently is what is the benefit to the resident, particularly the current resident of the town of Eatonville, of this project moving forward. And we point out just a few right here. That first of all, the town of Eatonville will receive in excess of $4 million, literally on the date of this transaction. To give you kind of a frame of reference of what that is, of what that would be. I believe that during the recent budget discussion, the town's annual budget is right at about $4 million. So you'd be looking at, okay, so it's a little more. So, but you'd be looking at it at an infusion of resources that could be utilized to address the town's utility, transportation infrastructure. We heard a lot about the need to address getting water and moving water from different places. This could be part of that solution. We heard a little earlier this evening discussion about the town and adoption of the impact ordinance, and we think it's frankly that is something that it's not the town to do. Based on some projections looking at Orange County's impact fee ordinance, we projected that we would end up paying almost $11 million in impact fees and impact and other fees to the town. In addition, the project would generate almost a little over $2.5 million in property tax annually over the next 10 years. And at maturity, like we talked about earlier, the project will offer shopping back in restaurant options. And then we include space in the plan. Next slide. So you've heard from Ms. Selmary that the planning board reviewed our application, heard testimony from residents, and then put together its recommendation of approval on these three ordinances. We accept all of the recommendations that were made by your staff and adopted by the planning board, with one small request. And that would be to modify the maximum percentage on the two charts that Ms. Selmary showed you earlier. Allocated for residential development, move that from 20% to 30%. Now, and we're not asking, with no increase in the number of residential uses permitted. Why is that? Because what we did is voluntarily said, hey, instead of going 4 stories on multifamily residential, we'll only go 3. That does require that to get the same utilization of density of units, that we have to use a little more space. And so instead of frankly jamming residential units, either multifamily townhomes or residential into a space to try to meet this overall 20% threshold, we've asked for that amount to be increased to 30% to give us some greater flexibility in how the residential part gets laid out. Other than that, we are here. We're here to answer any questions you have, and we accept the recommendation of the planning board.
Before we go to public comment, Ms. Selmary, could you comment on the change, the 20 to 30%? Do you have any, or anything that you've heard? Are there any?
Tonight, this is the first time I've actually heard that. The applicant did not reach out to discuss that with staff on the increase of 30% to my knowledge. So I don't really have a comment on that request. I mean, they're saying that they were still, so their original request was 3.9 and 390 units. The planning board reduced it to 3.5 and 350 with a 20% reduction. The applicant has said, excuse me?
There wasn't a 20% reduction.
Sorry, to 20% versus 30. The The applicant has just stated that they'd like to increase in 30, but they're still willing to cap the 350 units.
Okay, so the 30% just be land.
My understanding is what they just said.
Space,
Yes.
same amount of units.
Yes, same amount of units, just the space that we're
area.
allowed.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. No question. But is
Oh.
there,
And one other thing, we put it up there, but just in case, because sometimes these motions can get a little confusing, because I'm sure Jacob would attest. So we put our requested action right in case it was helpful to.
all right. So we're now going to the open comment section for this item. Ms. Williams, do you currently have anyone speaking on this item? Yes. What was just presented? Yes. So, water, Jordan.
The mayor and council and residents. A lot of the questions that I did have, we kind of cleared up a little bit. My concern was based on what we were discussing earlier in the workshop about the impact fees. And I know that we said that we need to have the impact fees done prior to really getting engaged into any other developments. So that's the issue of concern that I have for this particular council. And also the making sure that we are able to preserve the historical value and component of the land, because we all know and understand that prior to us, I don't want to say lose the land, that's the only thing that can come to my mind is that we lose the land. I know that it was also supposed to be used for educational purposes. And I have a lot of concern with that component being lost within this development. So those are my concerns. Making sure that as the town that we want, we get what we should be getting from this developer or this proposed comprehensive plan. And again, the educational component, making sure we get that, and making sure as a town council that we are or we have done our due diligence regarding, is it possible, because I proposed asking the question before, are we out of the running for as a town to go back and get our own land? Is that a possibility? Is that done? That is my question to this council, and have we done our research as far as that?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In 1887, the question was, how can these Negroes self-govern themselves? That was a question that most of around the world, on every national newspaper, how can they self-govern themselves? Mr. Roy said that they can. They're different. They're different breed of people. I do believe that. They can keep clean streets. They can do things right. What Mr. Bruce, he didn't give us a vision. He gave us a piecemeal thing. And I'm really kind of insulted the fact that this developer has used a black face to talk to black people. That really it's offensive to me. When I go to the hunger for property, I see all the property being demolished and torn down. Does that hurt anyone besides me? It really hurts me pretty deeply. They have to reimagine Eatonville this way. What if we had a Zorro University Museum? What if we had a Wyndham Worldwide that could step down and give us a space for 1,000 convention seats? Right now, when everybody do a gala, they gotta go to Shingle Creek, they gotta go to Digital. What if we had 1,000 places that holds 1,000 people? In North Orange County, which would be us, the Sheraton has 200 butt seats. We could do banquets, we get bedroom tax, we get tourism tax, we get all that stuff like that. They did it in Charleston, they did it in Savannah, they do it in New Orleans, and we can do it here at Eatonville. Eatonville's the whole oldest historical black county in Eatonville. That's a vision, that's an imagine. What they have done It's piecemeal something. They showed us something called Korean Drive. They showed us something. So in short, so we got 3 minutes. Listen, hey, you know, Hannibal Square used to be Hannibal Square. Now it's Chocolate City. Paramore used to be Paramore, but now it's called Pine Hill, but they call it Pine Hill. Eatonville is going to be Rosewood, Rosemount in just in a few shakes if we let this deal go through. You can't let this deal go through. We're better than that. We're better than that. And so my closing is that we just have to reimagine Eatonville in a way that keeps its historical value, and we can do that. You know, we should have a butt kick for letting them get that land from us. The trust has gotten their money. Wayne County School Board is forcing us to do a forced gentrification because it's fenced off now. You can't even use it if you want to use it. You can't even use it. Does that just upset me? You can't even use it. They're bluffing me to do this deal. This developer wasn't the highest bidder. Where's Falcon Group? They had to bail out. You know how they got involved in this? Because Falcon, the county gave Falcon the deal and they were the highest bidder. And this group was going to sue them. So they partnered. They partnered. And now you're going to go for the okie doke. So listen, when I die and my life has before me, I just want to see my life that I did. I want to know I want to do everything right. But I know tonight that I stood up for something that those founders did, and those decent white people make it. That's the reason they put leadership in them, because they knew that they were going to slick bullet come into town to pull the Plymouth down with the Joe Biden.
You know, it's like,
Good speech.
These are your comments. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I do agree with some of what Beaton said. His dad, my little league baseball coach when I was growing up in town. Yeah. I think one thing we should all be challenged with. We should all want to leave the town of Eatonville a better place than what it was when we came. I'm a firm believer that our ancestors are part of this land because they worked hard. They had a vision. And I think we've kind of lost our vision. How are we going to make Eatonville like our home? You know, we're so close to those times. You know, I went to a basketball camp at Rollins College in 9th grade. My mom couldn't afford to send me to Stetson University with my good friend Dion Rainway because it cost too much. Well, I could see the Rollins camp, things like $150. And the coach there said, one day we're going to recruit you to come to Rollins College. And that dream came true. We're losing so much if we don't do something with that land. You know, we may not agree with Dick Bruce, and I share this with you. I coached that young man at Dr. Phil High School. You know, I told Randy Bracy, who's running for Senate, we're not trying to make Eatonville a better place for our youth. Last Friday, I played golf with Theodis Brunson. He was my neighbor. He's a judge. He went to Rollins. We want to teach our kids to do better in life, but if we can't give them a better place to live, how are their dreams going to come true? Some of you guys may not know the story about my son. Passed away about 4 years ago. I took him on his first airplane ride at 4 years old. This was back in 1999 before. As soon as he got on the airplane, he went straight to the cockpit. I said, "Oh, we can't go up there." "Oh, no, let him come up there and sit down." I got pictures of him sitting in the pilot seat. What happened? 16 years later, he got his pilot license. It was his goal to be a pilot. And he achieved that. We have to do something to help our youth to achieve a better life than what we have. And we're not going to get that if we keep sitting around bickering amongst each other when somebody is trying to help us out.
Here, council, residents, Dean Johnson, 142 Lincoln Boulevard. And to me, Eatonville means pride. Eatonville is ownership. And to see this presentation, you have to come to a few meetings ago. Not really anybody was in here. More outsiders were in the meeting than we were. You know, I was there, all the Chamber of Commerce was there, of course, but same presentation, we got a little more in depth. And I don't think, I understand what you're saying, we do need development, but this project here is a wipeout of our town. If you look at the things they're promising, 10 years, why is everything stopped at 10 years? Because they know the economic impact that's gonna happen will drive the current residents out of Eatonville in 10 years. Only fees are going up to 10 years. Why 10 years? Because when we bring in all of these new people, these new residents who come in here, they're gonna vote all of y'all up out of office. They're residents of the town now. So if you're not doing your job as mayor, council, anybody, ain't nobody taking sides. They kicking y'all out of here because now they have power in numbers. You know, when colonizers come in, they come in to take over. They don't come in to work with you. We see that. We've seen that Paramore, like Brother Beecham said, Paramore, you know, all of the other different places. This is what colonizers do. They come in to take over. For them, it's a business deal. Can't get mad at them for that. Trying to help, but the help doesn't help the town. Truly help the town and the residents right now. So we got to look at what we got to look in the mirror here. They're going off of a CRA thing from 2015. That's 7 years ago. Hasn't been updated. They're doing their job. They did their research. They saw opportunity. They saw weakness, and they attacked. That's literally the game plan. But you got to see the smoke and mirrors before they attack. And we got to challenge each other. The residents challenge your council. They stand to represent you. This is what politics is. I don't play in American politics because I know nothing gets done. It's right wing, left wing, same bird on the same plane, going the same place. So it doesn't make sense. And if you're doing the same thing in here, nothing gets done. And this is how people come in and prey on your land. The land is the most important piece of this economic warfare we're in. We're about to literally allow somebody to come in here and give us something for 10 years. I plan on being alive for 10 years. Some people might not make it, but I plan on being here, and I plan on Eatonville to be here for me and my community. So I challenge everybody, you know, look into it. Not the right development. That's my opinion.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mary, the Association to Preserve the Eatonville Community. I've attended many of these meetings, and from 7:50 to 9 o'clock, each time we look at this presentation, it reinforces the fact that this is a complex situation. I want to mirror Councilwoman Randolph's asking of particular questions, but the town of Eatonville citizens need to hear what is being involved. The town of Eatonville citizens, what is looked at here will have a 100-year impact on this community. There are some very good questions that have been asked, but what kind of context? What is the cost-benefit analysis? In 2009, Mayor Grant was able to get a $100,000 allocation from the state legislature to do assessing the potential for enhancing cultural tourism in Florida using historical and cultural assets of the town of Eatonville. There are copies here. What is the research? You as council members, as mayor and council, you have been elected to protect the interests of this community. The minimum that you can do, is to make sure that people are informed, that they understand what you are having to grapple with. It is really inappropriate that it takes almost 2 hours to go through a presentation. 2 hours to hear the presentation. This place is filled, but the regular people of Eatonville do not really know what is going on. You need to give them that opportunity. Now, I can tell you with all due respect about all of this cultural and all of these things that you were saying here, we have spent as an organization 3 decades building where people come from all over the world and you throw up these little murals and talk about where they're going to be local, and that's not going to work. That is not appropriate. What is the economic impact? This is about business. What is the economic impact? And I can tell you what is truly a slap in the face so that you all will know. When I called Orange County Public Schools to ask about using the property for outdoor festival, I was told no. Not this year, not last year, right? We were prepared to try to do everything on the property, but no. So that means really that something that has a national and international reputation, we're getting ready to lose that. We're getting ready to lose that.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Do they have all of this?
I've already addressed my point. I'm gonna get right down to it. Purpose for me to even say anything is to establish some type of just rudimentary, just a modicum of it to get some understanding. I'm very well educated, formally and informally. But I have to admit, when I was in that meeting, I didn't understand. I still don't understand how many here understood really what they were saying. I mean, really, y'all, it's okay if you ask. I mean, do you really understand it? I still don't get it. What I do get is that Orange County took the property. Yes, and by the way, everybody, it's not sold yet. The property hasn't been sold, so it's still some things that can be done. The developer is in a hurry, but the town council don't have to be in a hurry. Well, I want to see some things grow in Eatonville. I do, but that don't mean we got to get it there. The first person that came along because we been sleeping nobody. You got to give it up right away. But what I'm saying is that they're asking us to do something and they don't even own the property. The deal has not been closed. The deal has not been closed. They're asking us for things and they haven't even bought the property yet. All this is based on contingency. So what happens is when they get in and we give them the permission to go ahead, then they go ahead and do what they want to do later on. And we say, well, it was going to be this, and then it's going to be that. Okay, we're going to be able to go fishing. And after a while, there's going to be signs around the lake that says no fishing. Now, if they don't even want us in our own park in Catalina, how they going to really want us around those $1 million houses? For real, for real. They don't even want us in our own park in Catalina. So how they gonna want us around that lake and all of that thing? And all of that stuff he showed you, Winter Garden, that's in a predominantly white area. Lake Nona is in a predominantly white area. All those at Corrine Drive, this is the oldest black town in the history and corporate of the United States. Yeah, we need to leave some for our kids. Come on back over here and start coaching some of them over here. Cause I'm still here. And I'm gonna be here next month on October 13th, I'll be 55, I'm gonna live another 45 years, so I'll be here again to oppose it again. But for real, I say stuff to make people laugh, but I'm serious. I'm serious. Can we stand some growth? Yeah. They talking about our gym. Where the boys gonna ball at? They gotta go across town. When I was growing up, we didn't have no, we had to play on cement. That's why me and all my friends that had surgery on our body playing on cement broke up. So where they gonna play at? What they gonna do? Or y'all gonna let them hang out around the restaurant? No. They ain't gonna let us hang around the restaurant, right? When we stood on the corner and handled a square with a beer in our hand, we got arrested. Now they got people sitting over there on the table with bottles and glasses of wine, and they don't say nothing. Y'all better check yourself before you wreck yourself. My time over.
Is there anyone else? Anyone else?
Yes. First of all, we got to be very careful. Reverse this conversation right now and make it a winner party. You reverse this conversation. That's not who our forefathers were. Hungerford was white. Eaton was white. Lawrence was white. Without them, we wouldn't even be here. If you don't understand the history and you get up, I'm not emotional. This is the real deal. First of all, $4.6 million, and the mayor can attest to it, $4.6 million the town will get. You just said $11 million worth of impact fee. If you put that together, that's $15.6 million, right there. Now we're going to talk about what's on the other side, that when it's sold, we'll get that money, and that could be $3 or $4 million. Be careful of what you say, because we wouldn't be able to have this conversation in Winter Park. We wouldn't be able to have this in May. If one of them, if anybody get up and say, you know, we want to stay the same. We would sing all 4 verses and we shall overcome. Now, with no disrespect, with respect, Brother Ryan, moved in our community, moved in this community. He didn't say our community. I saw a house. I saw a good deal. I liked the neighborhood. I moved over here, and I don't think you've missed the council meeting. We come when we think it's a situation. He's been to every council meeting, and he has the opportunity, like everyone else, to be able to do something. We better be careful that we don't do reverse discrimination. And half of us that be talking sometimes don't have eye water to cry with or property. That's right. So you got to be real. We come up here and get all these emotions. We only own 30% of our homes. Did y'all know that? Well, we only own 30% of our homes. When our parents died, we sold our houses. Reverse mortgages. We only own 30% of our homes, and we keep thinking that somebody's taking our homes. The kids get grown and sell their house to go buy a car and a rental property. Come on, folks, let's get real. Let's look at what we can do, and we have some say so. But I don't want to be saying 20 years from now, we the first black city, and we don't have anything to show for it. No. Let's be real. The only reason why I'm up, and I'm sorry, man, only reason why I'm up is because we only can go so far of saying it like it's black and white. This is about economic development. It's called green. And everybody had an opportunity to bid on that land. You don't bid on what you think you got to have. You get people together and try to buy it. I did my best to try to get Claire from the managers to look at it. Brought people here quietly trying to look at it. It didn't happen. So I got to get the best thing out of it. And you are not a token. You are an African-American man that went and got your degree, and you're sitting here and you're doing that because of that.
Howard. Real Howard.
Is there anyone else?
And you ain't from Eatonville neither. Winter Park.
Is there anyone?
You're not from Eatonville. You didn't live in Eatonville. You live in Maple.
Excuse me.
Gavel.
I'm not.
I'm sorry, Mayor. That was me. I'm sorry.
So I'm born and raised from St. Louis, Missouri, very specifically Ferguson, Missouri. Because I don't know if you might be aware of that area. And so I came down here. I went to university programming, and here I am. I was so grateful to have the opportunity to buy this house. First time owner. Oh, dude, nobody looked younger than I am. And everyone in my area, everyone here that I've met, been very welcoming. I still have ignorance of a lot of the histories of Eatonville, and I'm trying to educate myself on this because there is history, there is culture here. Learn more about that because I'm trying to research it as best as I can, but it's challenging to find. It was not as helpful as I was going to be. So when I see this presentation, and when I see some of the things being proposed, yeah, maybe I don't necessarily know the impact, but I do know the economic impact of some of the example places like Boxing Park, like Winter Garden, and these other areas. I was at a board game convention up in Indianapolis, and I went to this place called Garage, much like you said, Market, just this real cool, fun, festive, great place. So when I see its development, I see that it can help advance the town, but I also hear everyone and wanting to preserve the heritage of the town. And I hope that the two things don't have to be exclusive, but can happen together. And I don't know. I didn't see anything that didn't seem like that wasn't a thing. But again, that's my ignorance of not fully understanding the history of the town. But overall, I thought it was very cool. I hope that forward in some capacity.
Yes.
I'm a member of one of the original families here in India. I had relatives in there. My father installed the first water system in Eatonville. He was also a police officer. My grandmother had 22 children here. One thing that really hurt me tonight was when I saw that Hungerford Park. Are we thinking about changing the name of the area that they're redeveloping? Where's this name? Are we still going to be under the name of Eatonville? That's the question I'm asking. Is this going to be the town of Eatonville with stores like any other town? Like towns redevelop to keep the name. So is that going to happen here if this doesn't go through? I don't know where this is going to end. I went through this in 2002 when I first came back home to New Jersey. And the fight was on here, the same fight we're having now. Somewhere in between it stops. And I understand the pride here. I understand what you're saying. And it's hurtful. It's hurtful. We do have to work together. I remember the history. I walked through the cemetery, also trying to bring out cemetery. I get no help from any developers, from any towns. Maitland doesn't want it there, but it's not going anywhere, so I'm here. So I'm hurt about what's happening, and I'm reaching out because it hurts here. When I walk through the cemetery, I remember the time from childhood. And I remember things Eatonville went through from Macon. And they're still doing it. They really are. But we've got to fight. And the one thing that I should have seen on one of those developer pictures tonight, they could have put a school over there on some of that land. That's what that property was originally for and was not supposed, that's what it was given. At one point, they were talking about putting new educational system over there for kids who had finished high school and couldn't go to college, so they could do something with their lives. Surely there's enough room over there that can go over there. With all the stores, the $1 million houses or whatever, that's one thing that should be on that property. And it was supposed to be there forever. For education. That's all.
Is there anyone else? Going once, is there anyone else? Twice. Is there anyone else? Discussion is going over. Want to make a little bit of one for discussion?
You can just close it here. Nobody else.
The hearing, public hearing portion is now closed. So now we're.
Now you can discuss.
All right, so I'm gonna put the motion on the floor for approval of the first reading of development 2022. Ordinance 2022-7.
So it should be one at a time. So yes.
2022-7, amending the text of the town's comprehensive plan to amend the text of future land use element policy 1.6.8. It's been moved. Second. Is there any discussion?
So, discussion. We discussing residential development from 20 to 30%.
It is part of the, to table of 1.68, so it doesn't include the table on page 2.
So if you just move to approve as is, as you just moved, that would not include the developer's request to increase 20 to 30% for the residential maximum.
That would.
Right, so you need to either amend your motion or withdraw it and do a new motion to include that if you want to include that. Of course, you don't have to.
Okay, so it's as it was submitted and not with the
The
30%,
increase to 30% with the
30%.
request by the.
So let me withdraw the motion. So the motion for ordinance 2022-7 is amending the text of the town's comprehensive plan to include.
If you'd like to do the developer's motion, that's, they wrote it out, they would like the motion. That would increase the percentage.
My discussion was, could we play with the percentages if it's okay with the developer, instead of going from 30, are we able to negotiate 25 or with the planner? That was.
I'm gonna defer to the attorney, but I mean, it's your motion and you're banking on it for that you like.
I don't know if you'd like to ask the applicant, you can always ask the applicant to come back up and discuss it. Yeah, negotiate might not be the right word, because, you know, that's how we feel about 25, or 30 or something like this.
All right, so you want to move up on the motion or let that discussion take place, and then make the motion and discuss it.
It's either way, whichever one.
Let's go and make the motion and then discuss it in a second. Right? All right.
We can, let's let him see if he's willing to.
Is everyone okay with that?
I'm sorry.
Is it okay with the board?
So you had to respond to,
What I think I heard was the possibility of rather than going 30 to 25%.
because the 20 is, you get that anyway, right? Correct. So no matter what we say, even if you went to Orange County and you guys were 20% is, so we're working out where let's just meet halfway instead of the 30. Let's go with 25, and it's a win-win for everybody as far as your development. Because I think the people don't understand is that you didn't have to come here. You could get 20 anyway. So you wanted to go up to 30, and it's like, let's work with the town of Eatonville. Let's, I would prefer 30, but if we can negotiate and take 25, it's the win-win for
Yes.
everybody.
You've correctly synopsized, Mr. Vice Mayor. And I do want to, there was a lot said. I certainly don't want to turn it into personal, because this is about the town. It's not about when I stood here and represented this plan, this team is committed to working with you, to preserving the culture, bringing into life, into existence, the vision of this town articulated for us. I will be beyond tonight, beyond when this is transmitted, beyond when it comes back to the secondary. Work with you all to do our best. And last thing, a lot of what was discussed tonight, we've heard, and one of the things that will be a part of the process. The next step is preparing the development between my client and the town. So there as well as council to advise you with many of the aspects of what you all want to see incorporated to ensure that.
All right, so planning and zoning board, they were just under the assumption that it was going to remain 20%. Am I correct? So
That was their recommendation.
that was the planning and zoning.
The recommendation was 20% and the 2.5 density units, max 350. And the applicant has stated that we will maintain the max 350 as the planning board. They're asking for a little bit more land to spread that versus have the lower number.
Question to you, and I know they're not here, but do you think the planning and zoning board will have a problem with the 25?
There are numbers here.
I mean, were they talking
I
about it?
definitely don't feel comfortable that there was no discussion on all the things that you're bringing up. I think they're great suggestions and questions, but that was not anything the planning board discussed.
Mr. Bruce, my question would be to him whenever he gets done. Possible? Because we go in there and they're experts in planning and zoning. And we take it back to the next day. So we 25, what do you say?
I'll ask the town attorney to discuss that with you.
You can send it back to the planning board, but when it comes to 2022-7, that needs to be transmitted to the state. Okay. And so that one is more of an impact when it comes to sending it back to the planning board, because the thing about the first two ordinances, 7 and 8, is that they do have to go to the state and be transmitted, as opposed to 9, which has all kinds of stuff in it. Doesn't need to go to the state, so that can take a little longer. And that table for 20 and 30% is actually in both of those ordinances. So you certainly can. There'll also be there's limitations on how long you can take with an application in Florida law. So sending it back might be a problem. I'll leave it to the applicant so that I can discuss that.
I think it's a win-win because 20 is what they were going to get in with when they came to this board or not. They're asking for 30. Like this.
And I believe that they did ask for 30 that was discussed there. So I think there was I
many square feet?
No, so we talking about going from 20% of land mass to 30%, correct?
That's the applicant's request.
Go from 20 to 30. Vice Mayor saying 25%. So we had put this into layman terms for everybody. The difference of that 5% is approximately how much?
50 acres.
5 acres. 5.
So, 5% of 100 is far.
And I'm sorry. So,
Let me get my calculator.
so my question to this is, so we're talking about 5 acres of residential, but we don't have a concrete answer on. We don't have a concrete on the amount of land between structures, correct?
Sorry, hey, Becky Wilson. I'm Dr. Kager. Tara and I spoke about the separation between buildings. That was your review
Yes.
referring to, Commissioner? That's awesome. So what we asked for was alternative language, because what the PD ordinance says is that we can have buildings that are, we can have houses that are 10 feet from each other, but then elsewhere it says you have to be 20 feet or get a fire code, a fire marshal to say it's okay. We're fine with that language to remain as it is in the PD. We will work with your fire marshal on the separation between the houses. And that is not what is driving the 20 versus 25 versus 30%. It's not necessarily that separation, but you picked up on, it is the idea of building 350 units on 20 acres, which you're right, squishes them together. Maybe doesn't provide enough space for the type of amenities we would like these areas to have. Or it's 350 units on 30 acres, which gives everyone a little bit more, it gives us some room to use good planning on things like landscaping, amenities, open space, landscaping in your parking lots and those types of things. So we're just looking for some wiggle room.
Setback. So the setback, you all were proposing to change the setback. What's our current setback?
For which particular, just in general? Or, so
the proposed change was not to the front yard. The proposed change was to side yard setbacks. And we were
it's also from,
we can double look at that and pull it up.
Yeah.
But we were asking for that to be 10 in between the homes.
And what is it in most normal municipalities in South Florida?
it varies.
It is not unusual for a production home builder to have 10. In fact, within your code, if you were a medium density single family, was already at 10. Right out. So it was just making it consistent throughout. And again, those are our minimums. Certainly maximums could be larger, and it just gives us some opportunity to design these things.
So for the public interest, I know the number that me and Mr. Bruce talked about. Tell us how many single family homes are we talking about out of the 350?
Single family, 29.
Okay. Townhomes?
59 total, but between single family.
So between townhomes and single family, we're saying now it's 59.
Correct.
And then the rest of it is taken out of the 350.
Yes.
So we're looking at 291 in my math is right?
Thereabouts.
Is there any wiggle room on changing up some of that ratio towards more single family and townhomes?
Well, so
So the entire,
Still staying at the 350,
right,
so but could be increased of single families and townhomes.
the mix that we're talking about tonight is, I mean, is what's in the plan.
Okay.
The total number is 350. There is flexibility to move between those. Frankly, the challenge becomes, we have designated conservation area and stayed out of wetlands.
Mhm.
And that brought about a reduction in the single family residential that frankly we had proposed originally. But if there's a desire to revisit that between now and when this would come back from the state.
But then you have to adjust your area. 30% wouldn't work anymore if you're gonna go townhomes, verticals,
It depended on how much the mix changed. I mean, if the ask was to go to 350 single family, yeah, then obviously.
My other question, so we talking about open space, 5.22 acres, right? That's area that you're saying that will be available for residents as well as people that in that community and all that.
There is a 20% requirement for the land, so it would be more than 5.
Yeah, but that's specifically designated.
If it's 20%, then
I mean, that's the requirement on the HDRD is 20%, so we haven't gotten in some of the details that we're talking about tonight. I have not personally discussed with the applicant because there's many steps. So one is to go through the comp plan amendments. The HDRD zoning ordinance does have that 20%. Once that transmittal comes, the council still has opportunity to either accept or deny after it's gone to the state. Then the next step is plat and site plan. And some of the particulars that we're discussing tonight, they really, it's not any obligation in their application. Some of the things that they're talking about that would really come back before the planning board and the town council to make some of those decisions. I mean, you can absolutely discuss them tonight, but that's kind of the process of what would happen.
Yeah, Tara, thank you for addressing that. I think a part of the maybe what the public should know is that this is a multi-pronged process before any shovel goes in. And there will be a number of different times we will be here for this town council with coming back for adoption, after transmittal, coming back for final.
and that's my whole thing. As I talked about, this is just move it in the process. This is a process. You know, we're not going all the way to the end right now. So it's a process right now of getting started. But then that's when we come down to developers agreement and all that. And my whole thing is, I'm just gonna say it right now. I heard Mr. Jordan, Mr. Beecham, Mr. McWhite, Mr. Johnson, Mr. Theory, Mr. Levette, Mr. Cole, Mr. Novak, and Mr. Alexander all got up and said different things. So I would want to decide to go forward, be able to put stuff into the developers agreement to make sure that it's concrete, because that's what contracts are for, that we iron all this out ahead of time and then we can go back to it. So that's my input right now.
And that's our desire as well now. And let's just be frank. If we ask 100 people what should go on this property and what it should look like, we get 150. and we can't satisfy every person's desire for what we want. However, I do think that we have heard some general themes that run through comments that we've heard from the public, as well as through planning board now tonight. Absolutely should.
My last thing, I'm sorry. $11 million. Say it was additional 11 buildings. Is that over 10 years or is that year one? What are you saying? The impact fees and all that stuff that you talked about?
It's not year one, but it is, it's through the build out process. And the comment earlier was just about like everything is gonna happen in 10 years. And 10 years was simply the analysis that we went through and decided to share with the council.
You said through the build-out process.
Yes, sir.
And what's your estimate on the build-out process? How much time would it take? How many phases do y'all have?
4 to 5 years.
Thank you.
Last time I was looking for the parks down the way, they came to us one time. Sometime I see those folks. Came here, changes on it. Next thing you know, it was on everything in that property. That's what it was town council. So we sit up there saying support this, and they say, you know, hey, we'll have to come back to this council, like that project. They didn't come back to, we know side apartments, what they look like inside, and none of that stuff. Somebody found the other thing that was for anything about it. So let's be careful that when we pass everything, that these people need to see this council more than one time. Because that board ain't that developer ain't that for this council. And I bet we got shackled. We really did. We just changed the zoning for them to do it. We didn't tell them to go ahead and build your apartments. We didn't tell them to go ahead and build them. It just went ahead and build. Now that's something happened administratively, that this council didn't support that at that time. So, I mean, like I said, I don't want to pass this here and think of it breaking ground and, oh, we don't pass it. You know, it was anywhere. Page 14, you know, so let's be careful. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Attorney, to speak on that matter that Councilman Washington said, we are protected just going through this first phase, this first voting thing, and then when Samir will come back and develop this agreement, we have an opportunity to make changes and suggestions or turn down the project, correct?
Yes, after today you do. This is just the first step, and you're gonna have to approve all 3 of these ordinances on the second reading, the first 2 after coming back. And then after that, there will be, Ms. Sumner can speak more to the site plan and plot process, which I believe are going to come back to. But this type PRD zoning ordinance specifically calls for a development agreement, and it already did. So in any case, and it says that development agreement has to come from council specifically, but that's going to have to come back no matter what. At least once, but I believe 3 times.
And I guess my question would be, if this was transmitted and that means we changed the zoning. Like we would have changed the text amendment, right? We would have amended the text. We would have also changed the future land use map. So if it should be transferred to, if this group decided to pull out, it makes that property more attractive to someone else if they come in, build to these specifications, and we couldn't stop them.
So if you transmitted the ordinances and they came back from the state and then you did approve them, then I could say yes, with these 3 ordinances. I don't know the market. I'm not a real estate expert or anything like that. But certainly the property changes from previous zoning to the new zoning, and it would make it more attractive, potentially more attractive to buyers. I'm not sure, but I believe it. And yes, there's nothing that stops them from then saying, here's this piece of property and it's more developable. So they don't own it yet. So I guess it wouldn't be that.
So then my other thing is, this is not about staying the same. But it is looking at it in 2022. It's not black and white. gentrification is not black and white. Gentrification has changed, whether that changes quickly or over time. I don't think you're a token. I think you've been very diligent in your work. I'm from Wichita, but this is not. It's been my home long and I've lived in Wichita. So my only other concern is that this property is not just this property by itself. We still have the 17 acres that no one's talking about. They can build another, not this developer, but 60 homes approximately can go down there. Orange County, to me, has disrespected our town. I have asked as a council person for, I've expressed my opinion through emails. I've expressed it out in the open. I have said, can we just sit down and talk? That is my concern. Once the land is gone, it's gone. And if we have an opportunity to try it again, then I think we should be given that opportunity. It's not an easy decision. I voted for the Lake Weston. That was 435 votes. And I agree with Councilman Washington. It didn't come back. I thought it should come back for us to look at. However, in this agreement, it does state on page 4 that the developer's agreement shall be executed prior to any site development. So it is. And there is a design book. If Ms. Selmary is not here, the next person can continue to follow and make sure that those things that were stated here today will be in the agreement. Boxy Park, East End Market. That speaks to me. Once the land is gone, it's gone. And that's the scary part. That's the scary part. So at this point, I'm going to make a motion. So the motion to approve transfer of the planning board's recommendation of approval of the proposed text amendment to the town's comprehensive plan to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity for review and comment with one change, modifying the maximum percentage of the land use that can be allocated for residential development. 20 or 30 or 20, 25, from 20 to 25% in table 1.6.8A with no increase in the number of residential units permitted. That's the motion.
So
It's been moved in second. Ms. Williams, just for clarity, you please take the roll.
Councilman Washington.
Nay.
Vice Mayor Rodney Daniels.
Aye.
Councilman Rodney Daniels. Mayor Rodney.
Nay. We're down to ordinance 2022-8. Motion to approve transmittal of the planning board's recommendation of approval of the proposed map amendment to the town's comprehensive plan to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity for review and comment.
So
Second, for discussion.
It's been moved in second. Councilman.
Ms. Alomar. The question is, since we moved that from 20 to 25%, we need to stipulate in 2022-8 that the map needs to change again, correct?
The map amendment does not need to change. It's the map amendment is to include, remove the commercial land use and bring that into mixed use.
That would be 25% would be for the next one. So it'd be
Yeah,
for
it's for 2022-9.
And so this one, we're talking about making what drastic changes, we're not drastic, what changes.
The 2022-8, it's almost like that's to amend your land use map to Wymore and Kennedy is the commercial land use designation. And that application is to remove the commercial land use designation and, instead of the commercial, have it mixed use as the assignment of the land.
Like, so it'd be mixed use where residential can go there as well, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Bruce?
I apologize. Can you ask me, the council believes that I did not answer that correctly, so can you ask me that question again?
For 2022-8, it's talking about the pool of proposed map amendment. So since we changed it from 20 to 30%, 20 to 25%, will that change the map that's going along with this, or? Is it also-
Oh, no, no, it doesn't change the request is to have a mixed-use land use designation. There are policies in place that require retail to front Kennedy and then office to front Wymore. So this amendment will not change that.
So it's not gonna change it from commercial to residential, that's what I'm hearing?
Correct.
So it stays commercial.
Per other policies, yes. Yeah, you have policies in your comprehensive plan that require that to be retail regardless whether it's a mixed use land use designation or the commercial, it's still going to be required to be retail and office. Retail on Kennedy and office on Wymore.
All right, it's been moved in second. Roll call.
Yes. That's the question.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Ronnie Daniels.
Aye.
Councilman Ronnie Daniels.
Aye.
Mayor Gardner.
Ordinance 2022-9, motion to approve first reading of ordinance 2022-9, amending the Hunger Land Development Ordinance with one change, modifying the maximum percentage of the land use that can be allocated for residential development from 20%. Is that also to 25%? In table 2-16.4 with no increase in the number of residential units permitted. Motion's on.
So moved.
It's been moved in second. Ms. Williams, roll call please.
Councilman Randolph. Yes. Councilman Washington.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Ronnie Daniels.
Aye.
Councilman Ronnie Daniels.
Aye.
Mayor Gardner.
Nay. That concludes all the ordinances. Was that correct? That was three.
So it's not over.
So we move on to the next one. Yes. All right. So approval of the consent agenda. It's been moved in second on third down.
Aye.
Council decisions, approval of settlement of code enforcement fee for property at 105 North Farmore Road.
So moved.
It's been moved in second on third down.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
But, sorry, what was the motion? The approved settlement, because we're trying to,
It
the
says
17,000 was in the, okay.
I thought something said for 17.
Okay, so this, was it,
17.5.
and the approval? Sorry, this is, we have to communicate with the opposing council on this.
So you're saying to rescind it?
Well, yes, you could rescind it, because what we'd asked you to do is approve it, approve the reduction to 17,000 contingent on them making payments in 30 days. And therefore, the settlement, you can effectuate it and make sure that they make the payment within 30 days, and then that would take care of it.
So I rescind my motion of the settlement. So we now table item number 3.
No, so if you could, so I'm, in making your motion, if you could, move to approve reduction of the lien to $17,000, conditioned on payment of said, payment within 30 days.
Approval of settlement, so we move to accept reduction of lien of 17,000 to be paid in 30 days.
Conditioned on payment.
Condition on payment in 30 days. It's been moved to second, all in favor, say aye. Yes. Discussion, sorry.
Look, that total amount was how much that they over.
I'm sorry, I have 56,000.
17, click record.
All right, so it's been moved in second, all in favor, say aye. All right, all opposed?
Nay.
Approval of invoice for emergency repair for lift stations at Campus View and Eaton Street.
So moved.
It's been moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second.
Discussion.
Yes.
Ms. English?
You have a. England asked the question.
What?
So this is for which lift station?
Campus View and Eaton Street.
Asphalt work.
Did we just recently go through the same thing with, these lift stations, the same lift stations for payment? Because I think I was asking the question, was the generators and all that stuff connected to them? Remember that?
Yes.
That's when we talked about, was it connected to the generators, was it connected to surge and all that?
Yeah.
This is just for the pumps that.
I thought I remember this conversation, I'm just trying to get the clarity.
Well, we had a lift station on Eaton and Clark Street that was struck by lightning.
But that's the second time. Remember, I showed the video last time, right? And
Did you explain the invoices that you're submitting?
For the two pumps.
We have two lift stations that have just one pump. These lift stations traditionally have two pumps. We have two pumps, one struck by lightning, and the other, we really don't know how it is. One is how it apart, the second one is on the heat. Three quotes. Go straight to the manufacturer, and then say, with the pump. So, the one that's struck by lightning, that's just an active rod. First one, just sheer, trailers and pumps. All the other controls.
So each lift station must have two pumps, right?
Oh, yeah. Each lift station has-
So does each lift station have two pumps?
Not right now, two of them just have one.
But did it have two prior to it being struck or whatever?
Yes, sir.
Was it connected to any kind of surge or any generator, anything like that?
Yeah, it's a generator. It's rounded.
And one in Catalina is connected to the generator already, that's connected, the generator is connected.
The generator is not connected to Catalina.
My next thing is, I know I said it last week. Tell me we've contacted the insurance company,
We have.
and what did they say?
I'm waiting on for the water plant. We're waiting on the final total.
Let's say with the lift station shut down. What did they say about the lift station?
We're doing the report right now. We have to make sure that it's certified by a professional to make sure that it was struck by. And the insurance company wants to see that. as part of-
was this done?
2 weeks ago, after you, shortly thereafter.
It's been assigned a claim number and adjusted everything.
Yeah, they've already, done that portion of kind of the water plan, as a matter of fact,
I just want to start on this station. So we possibly can get recoup this money back from the insurance company. That's what you tell.
So we hope we're gonna do all everything within our power to get reimbursed for that. And it's my understanding you get reimbursed for possibility for the overtime.
Thank you. It's been moved in second. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
I mean, work been done. So,
So I can make a motion. It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Approval of resolution 2022-52 to recognize the Eatonville Chamber of Commerce as official welcome center in the town of Eatonville.
Second question.
It's been moved in second. Question.
Johnson Board, I didn't think of, is there any funding? I understand the partnership. I'm glad and happy that there's any funding coming from the town as far as helping, or are they going to sit on their own and do their own funding?
Well, at this point, I mean, that's been in the budget or anything. So it'll be up to the council.
So that'll be our official welcoming center. Do we have a,
I guess we need a memorandum of understanding.
get that to, what they expect from us and make it happen. Spreading about it, I think they've been, they did a great job as far as promoting the town. So I'm just making sure, as far as financial goals, what's happening, what's going on.
So it's- you have a question?
no, I'm fine with it, but
Yes, that's what I was saying, because you want to know what the, if there's gonna be a welcome center, what does that mean? How much money per year, I would assume, and what it's gonna involve.
Well, first of all, we would need to put in there, town.
Right.
I'm sure. That's
Right.
So we can come here and provide.
That's that would be an year,
That's
and what we're responsible for.
so, and nothing against the chamber, like I always say, I'm glad that we finally decided to do some run understanding with organizations.
When we give money.
And then also what I would say to Ms. Wilder, Ms. Jordan is, if it is gonna be the welcome center, we do need funding and all those kind of things. So can you all prepare something to send to us to let us know maybe what some starting would cost to be able to put, different items inside of it? We need to print out maps and all that. That stuff needs to be done, then we can do a budget adjustment too. And then also, just like I told everybody else, because I keep everybody equal. And then we just need to look at insurance purposes and all that kind of stuff, look at all that stuff with attorneys and all that. That's my standpoint.
All right, it's been moved in second with the amendments for the MOU and follow-up. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Approval of resolution 2022-53, canceling all resolutions for emergency hires.
Attorney, you want to speak on this?
Yes, I believe that you discussed this with Cliff, and I've discussed with you this afternoon. We're not prepared we didn't prepare a written resolution at this point. I'm also not quite sure what we would like to have in the resolution, because there's the personnel policy regarding hires of employees, and there's the procurement policy, which is an ordinance which you can't amend by resolution. So the one gap I discussed with Councilman Daniels is when it comes to the charter officers that are also employees, because the personnel policy wouldn't necessarily apply to them, but also wouldn't apply, procurement wouldn't apply to their employees. So I'm not sure if we could have a resolution that address that gap, maybe says no emergency hires, but that would be about it. without changing the personnel.
So the reason was to cancel out all these resolutions that's all out that was never applicable to be had. And attorney, for clarification, the only two positions that town council can hire is the clerk and the attorney. And we have to confirm the chief administration officer, right?
Right.
So for emergency hire for that, it still would have to come back to the town council to confirm. If it wasn't confirmed, then it's not a legit employment withdrawing line item, correct?
Well, the mayor can hire people, they just wouldn't have the charter duties of the chief administrative officer.
Right, so let's get clarity, like we talked today. So, like you told me earlier, she could pass on the duties to someone else. If it was, I'm gonna make a position that's not that ABC position, she could delegate that to say, okay, that person is gonna be the interim, but then their pay would still be at whatever that line item was that they were at. So if they were ABC and they made 45,000, and she can make them the CAO, but they still make 45,000, correct?
So whether or not, the budgeting question is a slightly different question. So if there is a budget item for here's what the chief administrative officer's salary is, and somebody who's not the chief administrative officer makes less than the chief administrative officer, gets delegated chief administrative officer duties, they wouldn't automatically get that chief administrative officer salary. So the mayor also might have the power to give them a raise, a temporary raise or something along those lines. They wouldn't assume that automatically.
All right, so we're tabling
Okay.
item number 7. Motion on the floor to table approval of resolution 2022-53.
So,
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Resolution 2022-54, authorizing wage study not to exceed 4,000.
the attorney did not have the opportunity to create that. So I'm just gonna put a motion on the floor to authorize the wage study not to exceed $4,000.
Do you have a specific position in mind? Is it that for police chief?
No, it's looking at all the rates for the entire town.
So move.
Would that not be administrative?
Well, they can authorize it specifically, so it may be that you have the power to do it up to a certain amount, maybe beyond 4,000, maybe less than that. But
2,000.
that they can authorize it.
Right.
Okay, so if it's authorized, I still need to bring it back to the town council. Right? If it's over 2,000.
If that's, yes, if it's a contractor, unless there's some other exception.
Okay.
Because ultimately who we choose is also a question.
You know what?
All right.
Hold on. I'm gonna rescind my motion. Since the mayor thinks she do it 2,000, I will rescind my motion.
All right, so the last item. Approval. Please state your resolution.
Yes, ma'am. This motion is to have the attorney, clerk, and financial officer contact Mr. James Benson to find out the back pay that he is due, but not to exceed 20,000.
That motion is on the floor.
So move
Second.
with discussion.
That's what it is.
I would like this done in this fiscal year. So we got until September 30th. So even if we have to come back with a special meeting, I'm trying to make sure everything's closed out for this fiscal year and it's not transferred. This stuff has been going on too long with legal issues and all that. We need to close it out in this fiscal year and start the next fiscal year fresh.
My question is, what we supposed to be old to? We supposed to be old?
Thank you.
We're
Prove my
supposed to know.
point. That's what we're gonna find out.
We got paid, I
Councilman
mean,
Washington.
finance, I already told me we get paid when he was, whatever.
Councilman,
So,
will, we will.
okay, that's administrative, so.
That's what we're gonna find out.
They have to last administration, that's another thing too. You know, the new mayor. That makes sense. We could have that last.
Is it? Yes. Councilwoman Randolph.
Our finance director should have a, and I just discussed this with, almost 2
Thank you, but
So if you can just get that information. And the full information, and we'll see exactly how much we owe this business.
all right, it's been moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye. All opposed, nays. Of reports, Ms. Williams, you have a report? That's right.
I have a question, Ms. Williams.
Let me go for the question, you have your question.
Okay, that's fine.
That's right.
I don't have any report unless somebody has a question.
All right, thank you. Council report, Councilwoman Randolph.
Okay, first of all, thank you for the work of your president, your condolences, and also my husband. I'd like to see everyone putting out today and show them more support in the future. Also, one of the comments that the neighborhood last week, came out of it, so I encourage all the citizens to get involved. Eaton Point is having a meeting this Monday at the Johnson Center, and tomorrow night we'll be having the lovely meeting. Also, I'd like to say that in the future, there will be some other activities and information to inform the residents about. Don't lose your property, get your house in order. We talk about wills and probate and other issues that you can do to save your house. Very excited about the property center. Asset quality today is providing this further. I know I have a lot of confidence in the good job. As soon as we get that plan together that we're requested, we're gonna talk about maybe once a month. But thank everyone again, and very much. So have a good night. Thank you.
Oh, the report, sorry. Councilman Daniels.
First off, thank everybody for coming out. This has definitely been a journey, and I'm built for this, so I'm ready to keep rolling. It's amazing to me how people put out propaganda and different things to try to get the citizens stirred up, but they don't want to give them the resources. They don't want to tell them all the truth. So first, I'm gonna say thank you all that attended budget meetings. Get a chance, get a copy of the budget. There's still a lot more work to be done with budget, and I can promise you I'm going to be asking for another budget amendment to things because we don't have clarity in this town, and that's why we have the issues we have going on right now with developers and different things of that nature. Ms. Williams, you remember in budget meeting, yourself and the mayor said an RFP and RFQ cannot be done without a budget line item. You ever recall that? RFP or RFQ, you said it can't be done without a budget line item.
So the funds have to be there to device.
Or for salary, you said it has to be there, right? Where did y'all get the information from? Where did y'all get the information from to make that decision?
I would got it from policies.
What policy?
I mean, and I know we do this all the time. All you have to do is if I say it, I read it.
Okay.
If you want to know specific pages and all that, I can't give that to you right now.
You should be
But what is your-
you should be
Please
back
don't
up,
have
man.
your point is
It's-
late.
It
I
may be
can
late for
follow
you.
up with
It
it.
may be late for you, but
I
that's
can
not.
follow up with that information.
You don't have to follow up. I'm gonna help you out along the way. I called over 2 or 3 different municipalities today, as well as I talked to the attorney. And I know it sounds kind of funny to me because a lot of municipalities put positions out there that they're looking for and put RFPs and RFQs. It does not have to be in the budget item. The money has to be moved in order for it to start operating. So if you're going to hire an ABC person, You can put out that you want to hire ABC, but until you move the money into the line item, you can't hire the person. So you can get RFPs, RFQs, if you want somebody to come cut the trees. That's why I said our budget system was flawed from the beginning. You all gave us flawed numbers from the beginning, and it wasn't appreciated. It made us do extra work. It made extra work happen. Attorney, am I correct? Do it have to be in budget?
An item doesn't have to be, well, you need to have something in the budget for whatever you.
Where you can pull from.
But, right, and before you spend the money, you should have a budget that reflects it. So if you need, so depending on what level, so like, you can sometimes have a request for something that's really low level, and you might not even have to do a budget amendment because there's already money there. But if you do need to do a budget amendment, you should do it before you spend the money. A lot of the time when you put out a request, you don't know how much it's going to pay, and it comes back way higher, and you will have to do that budget amendment later. But yes, you don't need something specific in the budget for every request.
Thank you. All the thing I'm asking for is transparency, staffing, job description, stuff that's been going on. This water situation in Calhoun Park. I walked with Ms. Johnson in the rain. She had her boots on, I had my white tennis shoes on, and got soaked out there because we're not addressing it. And I don't see Mr. English around, but I'm tired of the excuses. We want results. We want results. I'm tired of excuses. Oh, we gotta wait for this and wait for that. And that's the whole point of asking about RFP, RFQ. We could have had people out here already saying how much it's going to cost for it, and then come back to us. We got to stop this doggone delay of something. We're going to have all of this, though. We're going to have something else going on around here because people dragging their feet. I wish Miss NY was still here. And I'm calling her by name because it has PC on it. We shouldn't be allowing people to put out flyers first and put out personal phone numbers on it. I can handle it. I'm man enough that I can handle it being called my personal, but it should be my town phone number on it. And then they use the town logo. So I had people call me thinking that it was something that the town put out. No, this came from Miss NY in theory. Unacceptable. Informed citizens, stand up and all that. Again, town logo, people thinking it's the town put this on. It wasn't the town. And for people to be putting stuff like this out and then they don't stand for what they say, it's unacceptable. And I'm calling her by name out because she's got funding and all that kind of stuff. So we can address that issue too to come. My next thing is, Mayor, and I'm almost done. You were quick to say, and Chamber, apologies to you all. You were quick to say to them that we had to have an MOU. And I get sent to me today that you get ready to have a First Friday's business event with the Main Street. Do we have an MOU?
We haven't even finalized that. We were talking about.
So why is the flyer out there? Why would you put something out without it being finalized? And then we're going to collect money and the money goes to the Main Street? Unacceptable.
I agree.
That's totally unacceptable. So I don't know how did this get to me, but it got to me. And then my last question for you, Matt, for the Main Street must be what? Located within the historic town of Eatonville. For them to be doing all this stuff, where's their building located? What address?
I'm sure they should have a PO box.
No. Sunbiz, State of Florida, Center for LLC or incorporation, nonprofit organization, you must have a physical location. You cannot use a PO box. And they have 151 North Maitland Avenue, which is the Maitland Post Office. But per the Main Street, they gotta be located within the historic town of Eatonville, Northville Main Street. But we continue to collaborate and do stuff with people that's not following the rules. That's my report.
Thank you everyone for coming out. Night.
It's an item, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. Vice Mayor.
It's all good. It's all.
Vice Mayor.
It's all good. I want to apologize to those citizens. First of all, also thank you all for coming out. I want to apologize to those citizens that have to put up with the smell of the water, the hanging out and the flooding, being a part of this community. This is what we have dealt with. I do see us overcoming with a strategic plan to stop the loitering. to address our water situation as far as our wells and making sure that we have good, clean, smelling water, and to also handle the flooding, which is a part of our public works department. We have a long way to go, but I do believe that we can get it done. Eatonville has handled a lot over the years, and I think that we will continue to be strong. A lot of people don't realize, where we come from. Mayor Cole, former Mayor Cole, brought up a good point. There was a rumor that while we got Eatonville, was that the people were so in Maitland was so liberal that they said, "Come on and vote with us." But then when they found out that it was more of us, that's why they gave us Eatonville. And that's just rumor that they voted on the sheriff and he got outvoted. We got to get them out of here. And that's how we got Eatonville. That's how they got the land and did what they did. That was the rumor. We also don't realize and know that Orange County owns that property over there. No matter how much we protest, no matter how much we want to go there and say, "Give us family," they're not going to do it. It was their, not obligation, but I appreciate them for including us in, because they could have went to that developer could have went to them and just did the deal. Without a shadow of a doubt, had the land space, whatever they needed, they could have did. It's all within our plan. So for a lot of us to come up and say, we're sellouts or whatever, they don't sit in the seat, and they don't see the pride that we have over here, that we're not going to let our city go. We're not going to do anything to jeopardize our heritage, our culture. Eatonville is still going to remain for hundreds of years, that my daughter's kids will be able to come and move here, and they're going to have a space to move. I'm not going to prolong the time. As usual, I'm not going to forget about Ray James. I'm not going to forget about Michelle Cole. I'm not going to forget about Confidence Pringle. I'm not going to forget about Mayor Gardner having a guy investigate the James brothers. That's my report.
Saying that, I don't know what he's talking about. He's like, the flooding in Eatonville, in Catalina, it's been flooding for years, many years, I'm sure. And if I lived in Catalina, I've known that was a problem before I became council person. And that problem would have been handled then. It was the last, one of the residences told me, "Oh, it's been like this for years." And it was at that point that I reached out to another municipality, hoping they could just bring their truck over. But relationships haven't really been that strong. So they said, no, Mr. English right now is working on getting someone to go and fix the problem, not the band-aid on it. So we are working on that. We're not ignoring anyone. Main Street Agreement, I'm going to read the Main Street Agreement, but I hear you, Councilman Daniels, and I'm going to ask the question. Everybody, I think that's it. Yes.
I just need to give an update on the situation with the water break down or Kennedy and Lincoln. Mr. English just informed me that a phone tree will need to go out tonight and tomorrow. They were not able to secure that water break due to the contractor hitting the water line down there today. So at about 11 a.m. tomorrow, the town will be under a full water. So notice until further.
Wait, what street is that again?
It's between Lincoln and, Lincoln and Kennedy.
And what's the contract?
They're putting down some fiber optics down there.
That's no excuse, Ms. Williams. They need to have somebody out there right now. They need to have somebody out there right now. They told me.
Wait, please.
Street block.
And are we sitting in the bill?
They're going to be responsible for it.
So we would be emergency repair and sit in the building.
They have someone, they call someone to make it.
Okay.
But a full water or something means that water has been just in case.
Because they have to shut the water off in the entire town because they were not able to secure it in that one location. So just as a precaution, the whole town is going to be cut off. So we're going to notice alert will go out.
And how long? You don't know.
So before we do this, and I gotta say this, we need to send a media alert out there. Everybody's not on this freaking phone tree and all that. And I'm like Mr. Johnson, I have a baby at home. Unacceptable. And I'm telling you now, Mary, you can smile all you want, This is unacceptable. Send out a media alert to get this stuff taken care of.
It's no. I move that we are.
Excuse, hold on, is that no water or boil water? Is it no water? I'm sorry.
Let me adjourn real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
They will cut the water off until 11 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Okay.
All right, let me adjourn and you can ask your questions. Okay. All right. It's been moved and second, testing 1 second. All in favor, say aye.
I'll be your first president. Matter of fact, y'all should go.
I have to stay home and get you worked up. I can't reach back. You heard me.
Yeah.
It is.
Big rap. I mean, gotcha.
She got some video. Just that one look. I'm saying, just that one. I said, oh my goodness, I want to do it so bad. I feel you though. All right. I felt that. I felt that in my spirit.
Your spirit.
Thank you.
Every time I walk up to Joy, I show her stuff like this. I say, "Who's that?" She's my name, Joy.
She don't even remember you taking the picture.
I'm like, "Not you talking about us? And you think it's you?" Ronnie and Joy standing in front of White House.